Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the What If Guy, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Issei Was Cold-Hearted Genius. Now before starting, please give this video a like, and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. It was a normal day for me as I woke up from bed. I got up and went to the bathroom to brush my teeth and looked at myself in the mirror. I had short spiky brown hair with brown eyes and an emotionless look on my face. Despite not being in any clubs, I kept myself in shape and had a nice body. Issei, breakfast is ready, my mom called. I quickly came downstairs to have breakfast with both of my parents. Good morning, Issei, my mom said. Did you sleep well? Yeah, I replied in an emotionless voice. I rarely showed emotion. The few times I did were when I was in a bad mood and would have a slightly shorter fuse than normal, but you could hardly tell the difference. Well, are you all least excited about the first day of your second year? My dad chimed in. Yeah, I replied in the same monotone voice as ever. As soon as I finished eating, I left the house and said bye to my parents. As I was walking up to school, I saw the perverted duo getting chased by the kendo girls. Damn, and it's the first day of school and they're already doing this, I thought to myself. It didn't bother me though, as he went right inside the school. The school was called Kyo Academy. The guys had to wear a black jacket over a white shirt with stripes. The girls wearing something similar, except they had to wear a skirt. As first hour was starting, I got to see who was going to be in my class for the rest of the year. I noticed a few people that stood out to me, one being a girl with black hair. I heard her name was Horikita Suzune. Horikita was one of the most popular people in school because while she was very attractive, she was also incredibly smart. The one bad thing though is that she is unusually cold with anyone, so if anyone tried to make conversation, they would get shut down fast. The other group of people that I noticed were the perverted duo Matsuda and Madohama, with their faces swollen, probably after they got beaten by the kendo girls. As our teacher walked in, everyone stopped talking to see who it was. It was a woman with a cold, stern aura around her. Hello everyone, my name is Issei Chabashira. I just transferred here and will most likely be with you next year as well. I looked around the room to see everyone's reaction to her. All of the boys were going crazy, especially Matsuda and Madohama. Would you look at the size of her, Madohama exclaimed. I know, dog, you think I got a chance with her, Matsuda asked. Alright, that's enough class, C-sensei said sternly. I quickly eyed Horikita to see if she had any reaction to this, but she still had on her same cold face. She then began teaching us about Japan's history, which nobody was paying attention to. As soon as the bell rang and school was over, I let out a sigh and made my way to the school gate, only to see someone I hadn't expected to see there. Why were you staring at me in class earlier? Horikita asked. Even though she was asking, it sounded more like demanding. Oh, sorry, I was just lost in thought, that's all, I replied, as I did though she flicked her hair back. As long as that's all it was. She then turned around and left through the school gate. What was that all about? I asked myself. As soon as I went through the gate, I saw another girl with black hair. Unlike Horikita though, she had a cute smile on her face. I didn't know her, so I started to walk past her, but before I could, she called my name. You're Issei Hayado, correct? The girl asked. She was wearing another school uniform, which was an all-red one with a white shirt underneath that. She also had on a white skirt. She must be from the all-girls academy from a few streets down. I thought to myself, yes, that would be me. Can I help you? I asked in my monotone voice. I truly couldn't care less about what she had to say, but since I already responded, it was too late to back myself out. I was wondering if, you would like to be my boyfriend, she exclaimed. She started quiet but quickly raised her voice towards the end. No, I said, after which I started to walk away. I guess that shocked her a lot, since she had her mouth open like she never thought she would have been turned down. As I went back home, I quickly put my stuff on my bed. My mom and dad were out working and I never knew when they would be back, so I just laid in bed for a bit. After a while, I decided to go on a walk to kill some time. At school, from what I heard at least, I was considered to be one of the most attractive people there, but similarly to Horikita, my personality is what put me down. At school, there were lots of attractive people there, but a few stood out in total. One was Ria's Gremory. She had long red hair with a large bust and a perfect body. Another one was Akino Hanjima. She had long black hair, with her being slightly bigger than Ria's. Together, these two were the president and vice president of the Occult Research Club. They were also known as the great ladies of the school. Everybody knew them since they were third years. Then there was Kiba Yugudo, who had short blonde hair and was considered the most popular and attractive boy in the whole school, even though he was only a second year. There was also Kaneko Taoju, who was a short girl with white hair. She was considered to be the school mascot, which is very surprising since she is only a first year. Lastly, there the student council president Sauna Shitori, also a third year. She had short black hair and a cold aura around her, quite similar to Horikita. Out of everyone though, I liked Sauna the best. Not only was she the student council president, but she was also very smart, and also one of the few people I respected. She had talked to me last year right before school let out about something I didn't even realize. As I stretched my arms in my seat, it was a few days after finals had ended and everyone was just waiting for the break. Teachers even stopped trying after finals. They normally just put on a movie or let us go on our phones. That was when an announcement was put on the speakers. Issei Hayado, please come down to the student council office, please. Everyone in my class turned to look at me and I shrugged my shoulders and headed down there. When I finally arrived, I noticed Sauna was sitting alone at the end of a large table with many chairs around it. "Can I help you?" I asked. "Yes, there are some things I'd like to ask you about. Please have a seat," she said calmly. I quickly grabbed a seat not too close to her but not too far away. "Regarding your finals exams, how do you think you did on them?" she asked me, looking me dead in the eyes. "I think I did okay," I responded. She quickly flipped over the papers she had on the table and showed them to me. They were all of the tests and quizzes I had taken this year, all of which had been marked with a 75%. I could have done much better, but I didn't want to stick out much, so I decided to get a 75 on all my tests, thinking nobody would notice. I quickly realized the situation and that I could be in some trouble if I don't play my cards right. "Would you care to explain?" she asked, clearly indicating about my test scores. "I don't know what to tell you," I said. "I'm not the greatest student, but I didn't think that I would get a 75 on all of them. At KU, you were given your grade at the middle and end of the school year, normally after finals and midterms. What I was confused about, however, was why did she have my scores in the first place? The teachers were the ones who graded them, so why did she have them? Your test scores contradict what you're saying, Hayao-san," she said coldly. "I don't know what you're talking about. Care to explain?" At this point, I had already figured out my mistake but didn't know if she realized it, so I played dumb. "On the finals, the last two questions asked at the end were meant for college students, yet you solved them." "It was by luck," I said, but I already knew I was done. There was no way to escape now since she knew. "If it was by luck, then how did you get those right but fail on the easier questions?" "I made a mistake and got lucky. I don't know what else to tell you." She didn't say anything for a while, then started thinking. After around 20 seconds of silence, she said, "Hayao-san, do you believe in the supernatural?" I found it a quite interesting question but answered it honestly. I cannot believe in something that has no proof of it existing, so no. We both didn't say anything for a while, but after around another 20 seconds she finally spoke up. "Okay, Hayao-san, you are free to leave. However, next time you want to hide the fact that you're a genius, try to do it better." I was genuinely surprised after she said that. It was at that moment I started to respect her, and I think she has well respected me. "Okay, thanks for the input. Also feel free to call me Issei now," I said while leaving. "You're free to call me Sauna too if you'd like," she replied, sounding a little happy. "Okay, then I will. See you next year," I said while leaving the room. "I still can't believe I made such a dumb mistake," I thought to myself. When I finally stopped to look around where I realized I was in a park with a fountain in front of me. "Man, I must have walked for a while," I sailed aloud. As soon as I turned around, however, the sky turned from sunset orange to purple. I looked to see who was in front of me, and it looked like the girl who asked me out, only this time she looked a little older and had black wings coming out of her. I was immediately on guard. Then I remembered something. It was what Sauna had said in the club room. "Do you believe in the supernatural?" As the memory played in my mind, the girl called out to him. "You know, when you rejected me on that date, it took a big wound to my pride." She summoned what seemed to be light in her hand, which should have been impossible. "If you want to blame someone for your death, blame God for giving you a sacred gear." A sacred gear, I thought, but was quickly returned to reality when I saw that she was going to throw the light at me. The light spear came at me faster than I could have ever thought it would, but I had narrowly dodged him by moving his body very quickly to the side. Realizing there was no running away, I tried to charge and drawing myself closer since I was very confident in my ability with hand-to-hand combat. However, she quickly summoned another spear and stabbed me with that one since I was too close to dodge. "Damn, you really are a monster," she said. "A human being able to dodge a light spear, that is something I have never seen before." As she finished that last part, she removed the light spear from my body. I quickly fell as I was stabbed right in the stomach. "Damn," I thought, "is this it?" I asked myself. I felt my conciseness start to slip. That was when I saw splatter in front of me. However, it was not it was that girl who stabbed me. I tried to see who injured or maybe even kill her, but my vision was so hazy I couldn't see them. "To think I would see you like this is quite a surprise," the voice said. I couldn't make out whose it was because I was so close to death. "I shall revive you, however you must live for me now," the voice said. After that, I quickly passed out. When I woke up next, I jolted up only to realize I was in my bed. "A dream," I thought aloud. Even though I normally never show emotion, anybody could tell that I was stressed by how my face just looked. I quickly regained composure of myself and realized that it was far too real to be a dream. I went to the bathroom and looked into the mirror as I lifted my shirt to see if I still had a scar from where I was stabbed. However, there was no scar, which made me even more confused. What happened to me? I thought. As I tried to process what happened yesterday, I only came up with more questions. Damn, I have no idea what's going on, I thought to myself. First, there was the fact that out of nowhere the sky turned from orange to purple. But the main thing was the fact of the person with black wings who summoned light out of thin air. Could it have been a fallen angel, I thought to myself. I am not a religious person since there was no clear proof that God or demons existed at all. After what I just saw, though, that was pretty much clear proof of a fallen angel. As I was thinking, I quickly realized that I was going to be late for school. When I checked the time, though, it was 10:56 in the morning, well over the time school normally started. I should have probably stayed home anyway, I thought to myself. That's when I remembered the strange voice that called out to me. "You are now going to live for me." I quickly realized that the voice sounded fairly similar to Sauna's. If it was her, that would also explain why she asked me about the supernatural last year. Tomorrow I'll have a talk with her. Normally there was nothing I couldn't really understand, but this was just something I couldn't wrap my head around. I needed to have this explained to me ASAP. For the rest of the day, I just stayed home. I didn't want to risk getting killed again over my sacred gear. I would also have to ask Sauna about that. As the next morning rolled around, I had a text on my phone from my mom. They were always out on business, so it didn't really bother me that much. I quickly got ready and headed downstairs for a quick breakfast and left. I made my way to school quickly since I didn't want to have another run-in with death. When I made it to school, I immediately headed for the student council room. When I got there, I saw two people outside the door. One was a guy who had blonde, messy hair. The other was a girl who had reddish-brown hair and was just a bit smaller than the former. I quickly went up to them. "Is Sauna in today?" I asked. The boy quickly responded, sounding a bit angry, who said you could use her first name. "She is the student council president, Sauna Citri. Also, what's with your robot-like voice?" Citri, I thought her last name was Shitori. I thought to myself. As soon as the boy finished, the girl whacked him in the back of the head. "Saji," she yelled. "He means Shitori. Citri is a nickname we use for her. If that's not a lie, I don't know what is," I thought. "Well, anyway, is your president, and I have some urgent business I need to speak with her about. She just left a while ago to get some papers from the teacher's lounge." "But seriously, dude, what's with you? You sound like you are on autopilot mode," he said, laughing. Even though I already knew about it, it still hurt to hear it directly. All of a sudden, though, his face suddenly stiffened. I turned around to see what he was looking at, and it was Sauna walking with her vice president, Tsubaki Shinra. Tsubaki had a much larger bust size than Sauna and much longer black hair, but still had the same cold aura around her. "Sauna, I would like to have a word with you if you don't mind." Saji was about to speak up again, probably for using her first name, but before he could, Sauna replied. "Of course, Issei," she said calmly. She opened the doors of the student council and all 5 of us came in. "Do you mind if I can speak to you in private?" Actually, I asked, hoping everyone else would leave the room. "What, there's no way we're going to leave the prison here with a weirdo like you," Saji yelled. "You guys are dismissed currently," Sauna said sternly, mainly focusing on Saji. Everyone started to leave except for Tsubaki. "Tsubaki, can you please leave too?" Sauna said. "If that's what you wish." She gave a bow and left, leaving me and Sauna alone together in the room. Sauna sat in the chair furthest from the door and I sat next to her. "So what is it you wanted to talk about?" she asked. "You know why I'm here," I said coldly. "What happened last night?" Sauna looked at me with a dead serious face and started to speak. "You were killed yesterday by a fallen angel for having something called a sacred gear. Sacred gears are things that give people extraordinary abilities. So I have some sort of power inside of me," I thought. That answered 2 of my questions, but I still had a few more. "You were the one who saved me yesterday, correct? Who exactly are you?" Sauna Citri, I said, using her real name that I heard from Saji earlier. She was clearly startled that I used her real name, but figured that Saji must have let it slip by accident. "I am a devil and a member of the House of Citri." As she said that, a pair of bat-like wings came out of her back. "You don't seem very surprised about all of the information I've told you so far," she started. "Is it because you already guessed this and wanted to be sure of it?" I quickly met her gaze and started speaking. "Yes and no. The fallen angel thing was the only thing I figured out, that and you saving me." "Speaking of which, care to explain how you did that?" I asked, genuinely curious. "I reincarnated you as a devil using the evil pieces system. To put it simply, I am your master now." That shocked me, however I kept my emotionless face together. "What if I didn't want to be your servant?" I asked, although I was fairly certain I knew the answer. "We will send people to kill you if you attempt to harm me or run away." Well, there goes my peaceful life, I thought. Also, whatever, I was getting ready to ask my question when the bell suddenly rang for the first hour. "Don't worry about it," she said. "I will send your teacher a notice that you will be late for class today." "Thank you," I replied. "So what about the sky turning purple and the fallen angel summoning light in her hands?" "The sky turned purple because you were put in a barrier that sealed you away from the rest of the world. The fallen angel could summon light because she used to be an angel with mainly used light. It is similar to how we devils use magic." The rest of the questions weren't as important. I did learn a few new things though. The evil piece system is like a chessboard. I was reincarnated as her bishop, which was a mutation piece. Mutation pieces make it so more powerful people can join the peerage with fewer pieces being used. In her peerage, there were 7 of us in total, including me. Saji also had a sacred gear, so he took up 4 pawn pieces. With him being a pawn, he can promote to any other piece if his king decides it's enemy territory. His sacred gear is Prison Dragon Verta, which lets him connect a line to somebody to absorb their power. Tsubaki is her queen, which makes sense since she is the vice president of the student council. A queen is a mix of all the other pieces, meaning she gets a boat and strength, speed, and magic. Tamo Meguri is the other girl who was waiting by the door with Saji. She is a knight, which means she has a boat and speed. Momo Henkai is a bishop like me, meaning she has a boost in magic power. Rei Kusaka is a pawn piece. And finally, Tsubasa Yura is a rook, meaning she gets increased strength. After all of the talking, I excused myself. But as I was leaving, Sona told me to meet back in the student council room after school. "Everyone, I'd like you to meet the newest member of this peerage, Issei Hayaru," Sona said. Everybody looked pretty pleased to see me except Saji, who looked like he'd seen fire for the first time. There was a white-haired girl who was Momo Henkai, who is my fellow bishop. The girl with blue hair was Tsubasa Yura. And finally, the girl with brown hair was Rei Kusaka, a pawn. They all had some business to do this morning, so I wasn't initially able to meet them. Now Issei, Sona started in a serious voice. I am going to help you awaken your sacred gear to try not to feel too surprised. She quickly reached for my hand and started holding it. Saji looked like he was ready to kill me then and there, but the other girls all seemed fine. Out of nowhere though, something entered my body. It was hard to say exactly what it was, but it felt very uncomfortable. Now Issei, try to bring that energy into your core. I didn't really get what she was saying, but I tried it anyway. After a few seconds though, a red aura flashed and a red gauntlet appeared on my left hand which Sona was holding. No way, it can't be. Sona, sounding genuinely surprised for once, looked at the red gauntlet on my arm. What happened? I asked with no surprise in my voice whatsoever. You have one of the 13 Longinus, the boosted gear, Sona yelled. This made everyone except Saji and I have a shocked expression on their face. What a Longinus? Saji asked, confused. The Longinus are sacred gears with enough power to kill God. When God made the sacred gear system, these were initially a mistake, but they couldn't find a way to fix it. Tsubaki said. Saji's face was a mix of amazement and jealousy. So what does the boosted gear do exactly? I asked. It doubles your power every 10 seconds, Sona replied. Saji's face turned from a mix of amazement and jealousy to just pure jealousy, as Sona had still not let go of me and that I had one of the strongest sacred gears ever. Issei, Sona said as she let go of my hand, I am going to have you start studying magic and devil language tomorrow. Also, since you have turned into a devil, your senses and body will be better and stronger than ever. You will also be able to speak and hear in language, but you won't be able to read or write it. Sona explained. I don't really see how that worked, but I assumed that was just a natural perk of becoming a devil. Wait, doesn't he have to do the devil lackey work first? Saji said. Normally he should, but I have different plans for him, Sona said with a little smile on her face. Alright, that is all for today. Meet here after school tomorrow, everyone, Sona said. And with that everyone took their leave. As I left school I remembered that I needed to get some things at the store. I walked to the shopping district and went inside the grocery store. I mainly just needed food, so I was just going to grab some and leave. However, when I was in the snack section I saw someone I hadn't expected to see. Horikita. As soon as I saw her she saw me. You already missed a day and a half of school even though it's the first week, she said in an angry tone. Well, some things came up so I had to take care of that. I was surprised she started the conversation, so I wanted to keep it going. She looked me in the eyes and then walked away. So much for trying to continue the conversation, I thought. As was on my way out I spotted Horikita, who was heading the same way I was, so I quickly caught up with her. What do you want? She asked in a cold tone. Well, we were going the same way so I figured we could walk together, I said. Fine, she said and started walking off. We walked for a while until we were on the street right before mine. Then Horikita and I saw someone you normally don't see in Japan, a nun. When she saw us looking at her she walked up to us. She looked to be about the same age as me and Horikita but had blonde hair that was noticeable a mile away. Do you know how to get to the church around here? She asked, seeming worried. If you go 5 streets down and then take a right and go straight, there's a church right there. I'm pretty sure it's abandoned though, I said. Horikita looked at me almost as if she was shocked but quickly went back to her normal self. Thank you so much, she bowed her head. No problem, I said. As I started walking away though, a boy on the other side of the street tripped and hurt his knee. I looked over and didn't say or do anything, and neither did Horikita. The nun, however, ran straight up to the little boy. As the nun was making her way to the kid, Horikita looked me in the eyes and asked a question. I didn't know you could speak Italian. That girl was speaking Italian. I couldn't tell, since now that I had become a devil I could understand any language so long as they were speaking to me. I couldn't just tell Horikita I was a devil though. Sona warned me about it, and even I knew to keep normal humans out of the supernatural. I studied a little bit of Italian when I was younger. I lied. Horikita stared me down for a bit before leaving. I turned to look at the nun to see something shocking. She had a greenish light coming out of her hands and was trying to tell the boy he was alright. She has a scared gear, huh? I noted to myself. When she finished helping the boy she started to head toward the church. I decided to follow her since this was devil territory from what Sona said. I only had 2 bags on me, so I decided to follow her but not to make myself known. However, when I saw the church I immediately got the feeling to run away. I figured this was my body's way of telling me that I needed to stay away from churches. But my curiosity got the better of me as I continued to follow her anyway. It was starting to become night now, so my senses became much better since devils are stronger at night. When she went inside I took a small peek inside through one of the windows. What I saw though was startling. I saw a group of people around the nun and another guy who was dressed as a priest and had white hair. But the startling part was the fact that one of the people in that group was the one who tried to kill me just the other day. I quickly went away from the church and put my groceries away. After I did that I laid in bed and started to drift asleep. Things are about to get a lot more interesting, I thought, before finally falling asleep. I woke up, but not somewhere I expected. I turned to look everywhere and it was all black. It felt like I was just falling, but I was being kept in one position. Hey there, partner, a deep voice called out. Who are you and where am I? I asked as I looked around only to continue to see darkness. I am the Welsh dragon, Dreg. I then realized that this was the dragon that got sealed away in my boosted gear. So you're my sacred gear then? I asked, wanting reassurance. After I asked though, the darkness around me turned into a dark red and I saw a giant dragon with red scales pop out of nowhere. Yes, that is me. Your power, the boosted gear comes from me, Drake yelled. Drake seemed thrown off by my question for some reason. I asked the question again and waited for a good minute before he finally spoke up. No, it's a dragon or a dragon, oh my god, so cool, Drake asked. I mean, you did call me here for a reason, right? Saji said that his sacred gear talks to him too, so I figured this would happen eventually. The dragon looked at me, almost as if it was trying to read my emotions. You're an interesting host, I must say, Drake started. Out of all of my previous hosts, they normally have some sort of emotion when they see me, but you have no emotion on your face whatsoever. Drake was speaking super loud, but I let it slide since this was our first time meeting. What sacred gear does the boy have that lets him talk to it? Drake asked curiously. He is the prison dragon Vertra as a sacred gear, I replied. Drake didn't say anything for a while but then started to laugh a little. I have not seen Verta in forever, Drake started. Anyway, what I wanted to ask you is what you plan to do with the information you know about the fallen angels. I was surprised for a second that he knew about it but figured that he has been watching me since he was awakened. I plan to do a test of sorts, I said. As I explained my plan, Drake listened with great interest. Haha, Drake started to laugh. I don't know what to say. I looked at Drake for a second, wanting his intel since he knew more about the fallen angels and such. It's a good plan, I must admit. He started, however, do you really have no issue using that? None like that. I just want to test my idea out. Plus, I could get more intel on fallen angels if I do this. Drake at first seemed taken back by my answer but then said, you really are a devil, huh? Afterward, he started laughing again. I haven't had a host this interesting in a while. Let's see if this plan of yours works. After he said that, I got pulled out of my dream and woke up. I looked at my clock which said 728, which was the time I normally woke up. I went downstairs to see that my parents still haven't returned from their business trip. Normally these things don't take a week, but oh well, I thought to myself as I left the house. School went by fairly quick today, but I got my stuff and headed down towards the student council room. When I opened the door, however, I saw all of the most popular people in the school in one room. Riaz, Akino, Kiba, Kaneko, and Sona and her peerage. Welcome, Issei, please have a seat, Sona said. I quickly grabbed the seat to the right of Sona. So this is your new servant, I must say he seems off, Riaz said. I just glared at her before returning my glare to Sona. So why are we here anyway? Well, Issei, what we wanted to talk about was the fallen angel situation here in Kyoto, Sona said. Shit, this was one of the things I was hoping would not happen. Are we gonna kill them? I asked bluntly, much to the surprise of Riaz and her peerage. Are you dumb? We can't just charge at them. They're fallen angels, we have to be careful. She was seriously starting to get on my nerves now. Sona, sensing my irritation, quickly spoke up. Riaz, please don't talk to my servant like that. I'll have you know he has a lot more to him than he looks. Riaz just looked at me and said whatever. Back to the topic at hand, how are we going to deal with the fallen angels? Kiba spoke up. Riaz was about to say something but Sona quickly interrupted her. Me and my peerage will take care of this. What Kyo is my territory. Sona, my peerage, and I will be the ones to take care of it. Seriously, what's with this spoiled brat? Does she think she can get anything just because she comes from royalty? Most devils are like that, Issei, Drake suddenly said, which surprised me since I thought he could only communicate to me through dreams. She's from the house of Gremory, right? What does her family do exactly? Her older brother is basically the king of hell, Surzech Lucifer. Her ability is destruction, meaning she can destroy things around her with her magical aura. Okay, thanks for the input. I quickly returned myself to the conversation as they were still arguing about who should deal with the fallen angels. Wouldn't make more sense for us to do it since we have 2 new members who need battle experience, Tsubaki interjected, bringing up a good point. Riaz couldn't really counter her, so she let us deal with the issue. After that matter was settled, she quickly returned her attention to me. So what's special about him? I know your other new servant has prison dragon Verta, but what about him? She asked in an arrogant voice. Her peerage was clearly distressed by the way she was acting, although they didn't show it. They were all fidgeting or looking away from her. He has one of the 13 Longinuses, the boosted gear, Sona said. Immediately after Sona said that, Riaz shot up. You mean one of the sacred gears that can kill God? Riaz yelled. Is that not what she just said? I thought. I quickly looked at Sona and her peerage, who were clearly all asking the same thing. Only Saji seemed out of it. He had a slight blush on his face looking at Riaz and the girls in her peerage. I let out a sigh and let out my boosted gear. A red aura wrapped around my arm, revealing a red gauntlet with a green orb in the middle. Riaz was practically drooling when she saw it. Sona, would you be willing to do a bishop trade? It's fair since my bishop is also a mutated piece. Everyone in the room looked at her. Even Saji, who finally snapped out of his daydream, stared at her. Quickly sensing everyone's gaze, she tried to explain. Please, Sona, you know how bad I need power on my side right now. Riaz begged. Sona looked at me and turned back to Riaz. I will give you to him temporarily if he agrees to it. Don't just put me on the spot like this. I have nothing to do with this, I thought. Riaz immediately turned to me with pleading eyes. No, I said, immediately causing Riaz to get mad. Sona, doesn't your servant know respect? He should know to help out fellow devils in trouble. I was seriously questioning devils now. I figured they were all like Sona, smart and collected, but this quickly proved me wrong. Sona snapped back. I will not let you teach me how to raise my servants. It makes sense that he said no considering how you were treating him earlier, Sona said angrily. Everyone in the room except me looked shocked. Apparently, Sona never yells at anyone, so this was a big shocker. Fine, Ria said, startled. We are leaving, let's go. Rias quickly left the room with her peerage, except one stayed behind. I am truly sorry about her actions today. She has a lot on her plate right now, so I'm hoping you can forgive her. Aquino bowed her head. She then looked at me, indicating she was mainly apologizing to me. At least not everyone in her peerage is like her, I thought. Yay, sure, it's fine, I said. She quickly bowed her head again and left the room. After Aquino left, I looked at Sona. Is she always like this? Sometimes, but right now she has a lot of devil royalty problems to deal with. Alright, well, is our meeting still going to happen today? I asked. Don't you want to know what's going on with her? Sona asked. Not really, I began when I was suddenly cut off by Saji. I do. Sona sighed and answered him. Sona has a forced marriage proposal that she is trying to get out of right now. That's why she is so on edge. That's interesting. I thought, well, our meeting today was cancelled because of Ria's interference, so you are all dismissed. I started to get my stuff together when Sona suddenly called out. Tsubaki, Issei, please stay here. There are some other matters I'd like to discuss with you. Yes, President, Tsubaki said as she sat back down. I quickly followed her and sat down in my seat again. It is okay if I can stay here too, Saji asked, hoping not to be left out too much. Fine, just listen though, Sona said coldly. He then moved and sat right next to Sona, glaring at me. Is he really that mad? I sat right next to her, I wondered. As soon as everyone else bowed their head and left, Sona continued the conversation. Issei, about the time I found you, there were some things I wanted to ask. Saji was still glaring at me, but I just brushed it off. 1. Why did you not accept her date offer? She had cast a spell on herself that would make people feel much more attracted to her. How did she know about that? There weren't many people around at the time. How did you find that out? I asked. Saji looked on with more envy, since in his eyes I was hitting on Sona as well as other girls. I heard the girl bring it up as she killed you. Well, at least it made sense. Mine as well. Answer honestly, I thought. When she first asked me out, she asked whether my name was Issei Hayato, which was pretty weird in the first place, since if she liked me she shouldn't have to confirm that. Also, I had never met her before, making her either a stalker or someone that wanted something from me. Everyone except Sona looked shocked that I had figured that out in such a short amount of time. If I was like Saji, I probably would have accepted it without even thinking about it. Alright, that answers one of my 2 questions. Now for the other. How did you dodge a light spear even if you were kinda far away? A normal human should not have been able to do that. She asked coldly. So you were watching the whole thing waiting for me to get killed? I replied back to her. Tsubaki looked even more shocked than she already had when she found out that when I was a human I could dodge a light spear. Saji, on the other hand, didn't look like he cared much. I have been watching you ever since the last day of school last year. She started when I found out that not only you were a genius but also had some kind of sacred gear. Of course I had to keep an eye on you. Saji looked devastated, thinking that she had been stalking me the whole summer. Even I thought that was what she did before she explained. Wait, I wasn't watching like that. She was very flustered and got very defensive after the glance I gave her. I was keeping an eye on you using magic, that's all, she finished. So then you did know I was going to die? I asked with still no emotion in my voice. Sona quickly regained her composure and answered. I couldn't keep my eyes on you all the time, so when I had seen that you were in the park with an aura of a fallen angel, I got there in time to see you dodge the light attack, but couldn't make it in the for when she stabbed you. If you had run away like any normal person I could have, but you charged her on, making your death come faster. That makes sense at least, but how was I supposed to know she would save me? Alright, now for the reason I brought Tsubaki here. As you know, all members of the student council have to be elected. However, considering your personality, I figured that wouldn't work out well. Although I didn't want to admit it, she was right. If I were to run for any position I would get practically no votes. So what are we going to do about it? Tsubaki asked. The only way I could make you a member without an election for you would mean that you would have to become the second vice president, Sona said. Saji was upset since he had a hard time with his election. He thought it was unfair for me to get a freebie. Wait, Sona wouldn't only be fair if he were to run for something. I know his personality is dull, but that's the only way to make it fair, Saji said. This was mainly why I didn't want any other club members here for when I discussed this. Also, I said for you to just listen, so sit back down, Sona said coldly. While Saji knew it was unfair, he didn't really have the right to say anything since he wasn't supposed to be here in the first place. I have no issues with this. From what you have told me as well, he would make an excellent third in command, Tsubaki said. Whhhhaatt, Saji yelled. He's only been here for a few days and is already second in command. Saji, I thought I told you to sit down and be quiet, Sona said sternly. Saji sat down with a pout on his face but stayed quiet. Well, now that is settled, let's call in a day, Sona said. Thankfully, they forgot about the question with me dodging a light spear. I thought. We all grabbed our stuff and headed out. When I left the school gate, I checked the time. 503, plenty of time, I thought to myself as I made my way towards the church. I quickly left the school and headed to the church. It took around 10 minutes to finally get there, but when I did I got that same feeling from before that I should not go in there. But I was going to anyway. I went to the window again to see if anyone was in there. Luckily for me, the fallen angel and the other people weren't in there right now. The only person that was there was a blonde nun praying in front of a cracked statue. Well, here goes nothing, I thought as I went inside the church despite my instincts telling me not to. Hello again, I said while I walked toward the nun. She opened her eyes and seemed pleased to see me. Oh, hello again. I didn't get a chance to introduce myself last time. My name's Asia Argento. What's yours? My name is Issei Hayatu. Feel free to call me Issei though, I said with a plain face. You can call me Asia then, she said happily. Do you mind if I finish my prayer first before we start talking? If you'd like I could join you. I'm not super religious but I do pray every night. I lied. Her eyes seemed to light up when I asked her. Sure, of course, she said with a grin on her face. I knew this was going to hurt like even if I didn't pray. Since I was a devil, kneeling in front of a holy statue with my hands together would hurt me, but I was going to do it anyway. I got on my knees and put my hands together but did not pray. As soon as I did that though, I felt a sharp sting in my head. It hurt but not nearly as bad as I thought it would. I continued like this, dealing with the sharp pain in my head until Asia was done praying. I got up after another 20 seconds. So what did you want to talk to me about? She asked. Well, you seem new to town so I thought I could show you around for a little bit, I said emotionlessly. Like a D-date? She asked while blushing. For a nun, you sure do have love wrapped in your head. I thought, yay, sorta like a date. I could show around town right now until around 9 p.m. Oop, sounds good, let's go, she said excitedly while blushing. I showed her around town for 3.5 hours and she seemed like she had enjoyed it. We went to the arcade, to some shops, and finally went out for dinner, which I treated her for. Thank you so much, I had so much fun today, she said while blushing. We had currently just left the restaurant and I was walking her home. You're welcome. It's not every day I get to show a cute girl around town, I said. Asia's face flushed to an even darker shade of red while mine stayed the exact same the whole 3.5 hours. Well, it's now or never, I thought. I stopped while walking, which made Asia stop as well. Asia, is there something bothering you? You seemed kind of distressed before I came into the church. Asia seemed taken back by my bluntness but still answered. Yeah, I have something coming up later this week that kinda has me in a bit of a mess, she said with a forced laugh. So the fallen angels do plan on doing something with her. But I'm not sure about what I should do. I'm thinking about running away since I really don't want to do it, but I feel like if I do I'll abandon my faith, which is really the last thing I have going for me. What do you think I should do? She asked with a distressed face. There are many people in Kyoto like me who pray at home and have no church to go to since this one is abandoned. This may be a little selfish of me to ask, but can you please stay here and fix up the church? I know something is coming up for you and I don't want to pry, but most bad things don't go nearly as bad as you normally think they do. I lied with a complete poker face, not one nerve twitching or one sweat drop, just a complete lie done perfectly. She smiled at me like I had given her reinsurance. Thanks to you, I know what I'm going to do. No, I'll stay here and watch over the church for you and everyone else in Kyoto. Perfect. Now to ask one last thing. Also, Asia, what day is the thing happening? I know I may be prying a little bit, but I would like to help you out a bit, I said. Asia shook her head. No, you're not prying. It's happening on Sunday, but I'm afraid you can't be there. It's a private thing done by the church. Okay, well, I hope you the best of luck on whatever is happening, I said as we approached the church. I got that bad feeling again but quickly dismissed it. Okay, bye Issei, see you soon, she said with a smile. Bye, I waved back with a plain face. As I started walking home, Drake spoke up. Haha, I can't believe that truly worked. You got her trust so easily. I wouldn't say I get full credit for this though. She is a super trusting and caring person, which I figured out about her since she went to help that little kid that scarped his knee the other day. Now I need to get some sort of training done so I can get used to using your power. I also need to convince Sona or Tsubaki to go with me to the church on Sunday. Issei, if you want some training we can do it inside your dream. I would not only be able to teach you how to use your sacred gear better but also teach you some magic. Thanks, Dreg. After a while, I finally arrived home when I got a text from my parents. I put my phone down and went to bed. When I awoke I was in the dream space with Dreg. When I fell asleep I awoke to be in a place where everything was white. Only white for as far as the eye could see. A few seconds later Dreg showed up in his full dragon form. Hey partner, ready for some training? I nodded and then he started telling me the basics. Since I have been in your body for a while I already know what magic attributes you work best with, those being fire, ice, and water. Is that good? I asked. Well, to find magic users with more than one best attribute is already pretty rare and you have 3 of them, but what matters is not the magic, it's how it is used. I nodded at his explanation since it made sense. Also, since you have me in your boosted gear you will be able to do all the magic I could with enough training. I nodded again. Sounds good. So what magic are we going to be learning first? Even though I didn't show it on my face I was a little curious about how magic works since I could never do it as a human. The first magic you will be learning is fire breathing. It does as the name suggests and I can use it too, Drake said proudly. After what felt like forever I finally got the hang of it. It wasn't always 100% working so far, but according to Drake, I was one of the fastest learners he has ever had. Well, it's about time for you to wake up, so I gotta go now. I'll make sure you have fire breathing mastered by Sunday, Drake said. Thanks, Drake, I replied. Shortly after I woke up and headed toward the school. When I finally arrived at school I noticed everyone was looking at me and whispering. Normally people just ignore me, but this is something new. I thought, hey, Issei, congratulations on getting second VP. I turned around only to see Tomo, the reddish-haired girl in the student council. So that's why everyone was looking at me, I thought. Oh, hi Tomo, I said back. priest said to let you know to meet in the club room today after school. She meant to tell you yesterday, but every day after school we meet there unless we are told not to," she said in a happy voice. "Oh, okay, but you better head to class. School is about to start." With that she made her leave and I made my way to the classroom. Once again the whole day was pretty boring, but Sensei kept glaring at me sometimes. I figured that she was suspicious of a quiet kid like me getting chosen to join the student council as VP. Apparently what Sona and Tsubaki said to everyone is that I helped out with their marking campaigns and helped a lot from behind the scenes. It's just that since I was pretty antisocial I wanted nobody to know that I was a part of it. That made pretty good sense to me. After class, I made my way down to the student council room where everyone was seated. I quickly took a seat next to Tomo since Sona was sandwiched between Saji and Tsubaki and Tomo was the person I knew second best. "Today I have called you all here regarding the matter with the fallen angels." Sona started. "While they are not supposed to be here, it would be a bad idea just to run, and since it could kickstart the next great war. We could use Issei being killed as a way to show that they were harming the people in the town, but since I saved you we can't use that as an excuse anymore. Normally this would be quite the predicament, but I had already set things up to overcome this border. I thought, well, Horikita and I were walking home together after we met at the grocery store. Then while we were walking back we saw a nun who said she was looking for the abandoned church. I took her to it and not only found that that's where the fallen angels' base is, but also that the nun has some sort of healing sacred gear. After I finished everyone looked at me with different faces. Raya, Tsubasa, Tomo, and Momo seemed to be shocked that I found out all of that info. Saji seemed mad that I was walking home with the Ice Princess as they called her. Sona and Tsubaki seemed upset as well about something too. While it was barely noticeable, their face was a little red. Are they seriously upset I walked home with a girl? I didn't even go to her house though, I thought. Shortly after both of them went back to their normal selves and thought about what I said. "Wait, Issei, did you go inside the church?" Tsubaki asked. "No, I only saw her going inside. I got a bad feeling when I saw it, so I have stayed away ever since." I lied. After some thinking, Suna finally spoke up. "Well, since this nun is a human and the fallen angels are trying to take advantage of her, we will meet the requirements to go into battle with them." Everyone stiffened up knowing that they were for sure going to battle. "We are going to attack on Saturday, so be ready for that," Sona said. "Is it okay if we can attack on Sunday? My family is coming back after a week of vacation, so I'd like to spend the day with them." I lied. I needed them to be with me when I attack. While I was confident I could defeat almost any normal human, I was not confident with my abilities against the supernatural. I needed more information and more battle experience. That is why I had set everything up to use the nun as bait for the fallen angels to take. Because they would want to take or use her sacred gear, that would be a big issue with the devils that ruled over this territory, especially since she is human even more so. "Very well, we shall attack on Sunday at 1000 p.m. Don't be late," Sona said. After that, she dismissed everyone except for me. "Issei, I want to start your training so I can hopefully get you battle ready by Sunday. I had planned just to have you watch, but since we have an extra day you should be okay. With that being said, I hope you will train a little at home so you will be ready." I nodded and we made our way to the gym to start preparing. She first started teaching me how magic was formed and how to release it. She first started with simple water spells that were nowhere near as hard as the fire-breathing magic Drag started teaching me. "You're surprisingly fast at learning this," Sona started. "Drag has already started teaching you, hasn't he?" I nodded, to which Sona sat down on one of the benches and looked up. "Do you think you're going to be okay on Sunday, Issei?" she asked in a kind voice that was much different from her normal cold voice. "Yeah, Drag said he will train me tonight and tomorrow night." After a while, she finally stooped, looking up and looking at me while a small but warm smile on her face. "Well, as long you feel ready, that's all that matters." She then walked up to me and handed me a piece of paper. I looked at it and it had a phone number on it. Sona quickly walked past me so I could see her face and said, "If you need anything, that's my phone number. Call if you need help with training or have any questions." She tried to keep her voice as calm and cold as it normally was, but I could tell that she was super nervous giving her phone number to me. "Well, bye," she said quickly as she fast walked her way out of the gym. "Thank you," I said loud for her to hear. She stopped in her tracks and put her hand over her heart, then kept walking again. "See you on Sunday," she said as she left the gym. After she left, I looked at the paper in my hand. "The first girl's phone number I get at school is the student council president," I said as I looked at it. I quickly headed home after I plugged the phone number into my phone. When I got home and opened the door though, my mom and dad immediately hugged me. "Oh, welcome home you guys," I said in an emotionless voice. "Oh, come on, we just came home, can't you put a little smile on your face?" my mom joked. I took off my shoes and had dinner with the family. Both of them talked about how awesome their trip was while I just kept eating. After that, I went to bed and waited for Sunday to come. Sunday 10.00, we were all in front of the church getting ready to go in. I don't want any one of us dying on this mission. Always stay on guard and be in your group. We were all assigned a partner to work with just in case things got a little bit out of hand. I was paired with Sona. Saji was paired with Tsubaki, Tsubasa and Raya, and Tomo and Momo. We all went inside the church to see a fallen angel with a man in a white church outfit. Well, the devil S finally showed up, the man in white yelled, named Freed Souls, and not that you're going to need it though. He quickly leapt at us with a menacing grin with a sword he was slashing around like crazy. Tomo quickly stepped in and parried off one of his blows. Please you guys go ahead Momo and I will deal with this creep, Tomo yelled as Freed kept smiling at her while they kept slashing swords while Momo started to cast some magic to target Freed. All of a sudden though a light spear came from the fallen angel. It was a man who looked like he was in his late 30s and had black hair. Don't think I'll just let you get by, he said while smirking. Tsubasa and Rhea were quick to move in, with Rhea promoting to Queen and firing a quick magic spell to intercept the light spear. Tsubasa and Rhea yelled, please go on ahead, we will take care of this dude. As the two groups were fighting I saw how well they worked together as a team. Tsubasa and Rhea were taking turns attacking while Tumu and Momo were attacking Freed at the same time. We quickly went on ahead only to see a hole in the ground where the altar should be. I'm guessing we have to go down there, Tsubaki said calmly. Sona nodded as we all took the stairs into the darkness. Please can I hold your hand please? I'm scared, Saji yelled. No, you are a devil now Saji, you can see in the dark, you will be fine, Sona said coldly. Saji was hoping she would gloss over it and accept his offer, but he should have known Sona's not dumb enough to fall for that. After 30 more seconds, we finally reached the basement, and there were a lot of people there. First was the fallen angel that killed me on top of an altar with a cross in the middle, and cuffed on that cross was Asia. All around us however were low-ranking regular humans, but there was so many that we still had to be careful. That hero has finally shown up to save the beauty, how the fallen angel said. As she said that, Asia raised her head to look at me with nearly lifeless eyes. She tried to talk but couldn't, that's how exhausted she looked. The random humans started attacking, but Tsubaki put up a strong barrier to keep us safe food for at least a little while. Not even the fallen angel could break it immediately. Alright please, what's that plan? Saji asked. He looked scared but knew he had to act tough if he wanted to impress Sona. Suna was about to start talking but then I stepped in. You all take care of the humans, I'll deal with the fallen angel, I said coldly. Whoa dude, I'm not gonna take orders from you, the only one I take orders from is fine by me, Sona said with a small smile. Tsubaki then let go of the barrier and the fighting was on. Tsubaki pulled out a Naginata and started killing lots of the humans charging us, and Sona was using her water magic to completely overwhelm everyone else. I could tell that they were going easy on them so Saji could get some real battle experience in. Saji was knocking out the weakened humans with a black gauntlet on his hand. The fool doesn't even know how to use Vertra's power yet, that's pathetic, Drake said. I had to agree though, he was my senior devil even if it is by a few weeks, but he had Verta training him too. Unless Verta was just talking to him without helping him at all, it was kinda sad. I quickly equipped my boosted gear and headed towards the fallen angel. I haven't even introduced myself yet, have I? The fallen angel started. The name's Rainier Newt, like you'll live to tell anyone about it though. Boost, my gauntlet yelled. Oh, you'll have the boosted gear, how well I'll soon be taking that away just like how I took that nun's power away, she yelled. I looked over at Asia who seemed to be getting worse by the second. Boost. After my second boost, I quickly charged in, throwing my left arm at her face. She quickly dodged it though and summoned a light spear and was about to thrust it right into my gut. I did a quick spin and dodged the light spear much to her surprise. I then grabbed her wrist and threw her over on her back. Boost. Rainier then started to cough up. You know, I thought you would be a big threat to me, but now that I'm a devil your light work, I said. This made Asia's eyes go wide with what she just heard, and that made Rainier even madder. Don't underestimate me, you devil, she yelled as she threw 2 more light spears which I effortlessly dodged and then threw a punch right at her gut, knocking the wind out of her. I then realized I should practice some magic since I was here and did the spell for fire breath. I took a big breath and blew out fire that was way hotter than your average fire. Because I have been training with Drake, I had gotten to the point I could do this effortlessly. Rainier yelled through her pain. I kept the fire going until I could no longer hear them and I stopped. I looked at Rainier who was covered in burn marks and was on the verge of death. I then summoned a magic spell Sona had taught me which made the water razor sharp like a water cutter. Wait, please let me live. I'll do anything for you, so please, she started calling out. How pathetic, I said before unleashing the spell killing her. When she died though, a green light came out of her body. I figured it must have been Asia's sacred gear. I figured that the reason she didn't use it was that she couldn't. She had no idea how it worked and only knew that it could heal people. Without that knowledge was one of the big reasons why she died so quickly. The green light in the air went back inside Asia right away. Issei, thank you, she started. Even if you are a devil, you are the one who saved me and helped me out the most while I was here, so I hope we can continue being together. If you untie me from the cross, I can heal myself enough to make me live, but not to the point of full recovery, she said weakly. It's almost sad how much she trusted me after one date. I looked back to see Sona, Tsubaki, and Saji were almost done, and I turned back to Asia. When I did though, Asia's smile quickly vanished as she looked me in the eyes. Normally my eyes showed boredom or nothing, just a blank canvas. But this time my eyes were cold, so cold in fact that Horikita's glare could not even compare. I quickly leaned down to her level and whispered in her ear, you played your part well, it's now time to rest. Asia looked terrified when she heard those words. She had finally found out all she was to me, a tool. She then tried to speak but couldn't. She then started to look weaker and weaker and weaker until she finally passed. I turned back to see Saji knocking out the last human. Apparently the strain of the sacred gear being ripped out from her caused her to pass, I said emotionlessly. I then untied her body and started heading upstairs. Where are you going with her? Tsubaki asked. To bury her, of course, I replied. While I may have used her and let her die, I'm not so heartless just to let her go without a place to rest. I went up the stairs with the rest of the group behind me. When we made it up, we saw a dead fallen angel and no sign of the other guy. We are sorry, please, we let Fried get away. Tamo and Momo yelled. That's okay, but are any of you guys hurt? Sona asked, concerned. No, we are all okay, replied Tsubasa. By the way, what happened to the nun? Rei asked. She sadly passed, Saji said quietly. Everyone then looked down, sad that they couldn't save her. I kept walking towards the back door of the church while everyone stared at me confused. Sona, as if reading their minds, said he is going to bury her. I then left the church and set Asia on the ground, then grabbed a shovel propped up against the back wall and started digging. After a while I heard the back door open. It was Sona. Where did everyone else go? I asked her while I kept digging. I sent them home. It is pretty late after all, she responded. After a while, I finished digging the grave and placed Asia in there and started to refill the grave. After I was done, I noticed Sona was still there. Do you need something? Sona kept glaring at me after I said that, but shortly after spoke up. You let her die, didn't you? I turned around unsurprised that she had figured it out. Yeah, I did, I replied. Why though? First of all, you weren't going all out from the very beginning, and secondly, you let her die after she got her powers back. She was going to be of no use. For once, she is way too trusting. Even if I had control of her right now, there's no telling when someone else would easily control her back. Then there's the fact that I'm a devil and she is a nun. Even though her last words were genuine, she probably would return to the church and tell them all about our powers and whatnot. I replied calmly. I'm glad I chose you. She started. Most other people would save her just because she is a nice person. That's what I like about you. And don't worry, I won't tell anyone about this. You have my word. Although my face remained the same on the outside, a small smile wept on my face from the inside. To think the Sona would also have the same train of thought as me. I really do like her. With that, Sona and I took our leave to our houses. The next morning I woke up and got ready for school. On my way to school, I checked my phone to see that I got a text from Sona. As I made my way into school, I heard people whispering again. I looked around to see Riaz and Akino talking in the main lobby. I guess they are the most popular girls in the school, I thought. I tried to make my way around them to get to my class. My Akino spotted me. Hey, Issei, come over here for a second, she said loud enough for everybody to hear. All the boys started glaring daggers at me while the girls started to gossip. Reluctantly, I made my way over there. What do you need? Akino flashed a large smile and responded, we are going to hold a training session for a week starting tomorrow. If you'd like, you can join us. Akino started, you can't just invite people for no reason to this. This is between my peerage and mine only, and since he doesn't want to help, there's no reason for him to go. Is she really that dumb? I thought. Akino just tried to help her by inviting me to go to the training camp with her. If I were to say yes, that could help build a better relationship between Riaz and I, and then I could help her out in the rating game. That was probably what Akino was thinking. However, since Riaz turned it down initially, there's no reason for me to go. After all, I never planned to go in the first place. But before I could answer, someone else did for me. Issei would love to go, said Sona, who appeared behind me with a smirk on her face. Why do I keep getting roped into these things? I asked. Then Riaz and Akino started whispering in each other's ears, explaining what they should do. While they were doing that, Sona came up to me. This is a great chance for you to get some battle experience in Issei. It's not every day we have some fallen angels that come into our territory that we can attack. I had to agree with her on that. After all, experience in using my boosted gear was going to be crucial to battles in the future. Fine, we will accept you. Riaz started, just try not to get in our way too much. Sona was angry about that, but she kept her calm and added, also Saji and I will be coming as well. What? Why, you think I can't train your servants good enough? Guys, class is going to start soon, I said as I pointed at the clock. Fine, you can come along as well, Riaz said as she made her way to class. Man, I really do hate her, I thought as I made my way back to class. When I got to class though, I noticed something. We were all given our assigned seats. I looked at the board to see who I was going to be sitting next to for the rest of the year, and it was Horikita. I turned to see her reaction, but she wasn't too bothered by it. Considering her options, being seated with me was probably one of the best choices she had. Class soon started afterward, but something I noticed throughout the day is that Sensei kept staring at me. It wasn't like how your teacher looks at their student, but almost like she was trying to read me. Class dismissed, Sensei announced. Everyone, including me, started to get their stuff together, but that's when Sensei started talking again. Hi Aru, wait in here for a second, there are some things I need to talk to you about. I did as she said since I didn't have club and waited for everyone else to leave. So how did you do it? She asked sternly. I gave her a questioning look. How did you become the student council VP? They said you helped out with their election. Is that really true? She asked coldly. Deciding that it was better to keep the lie going, I kept by with what they said. Yeah, I helped organize a lot of speeches and stuff for them. I mainly did things from behind the scenes. I've been watching you in class lately and I don't believe that. You don't seem like the person who would just help someone out. I do help out the few people I consider to be friends. Sona is one of them. After I said that, we stared each other down for a while and finally told me I was dismissed. When I opened the door to leave, though, there was a small girl with white hair waiting right next to it. It was Kaneko Taoju, a member of the Occult Research Club. "Come with me," she said in a monotone voice. I followed her all the way to the old school building. "So why am I here?" I asked in a monotone voice. "Open the door and find out," she replied. When I opened the door, I saw all of the popular people in school there. There was all of Ria's peerage and Sona and Tsubaki. I grabbed a seat next to Sona on the couch located in the middle of the room. Kiba was leaning against the wall. Riaz was at her desk going through some papers with Akino right behind her. Kaneko sat on the couch a few feet away from our couch, and Tsubaki was sitting on the same couch Sona and I were sitting on. I sat there quietly hoping someone could fill me in on what was going on. Before I could open my mouth, though, a light blue magic circle appeared on the ground. Out of it appeared a beautiful woman in a maid outfit with gray hair. "Hello, Sona, Tsubaki, and who I presume is the Red Dragon Emperor Issei Hayaru." She started with a quick bow. "My name is Grafia Lucifuge. It's a pleasure to meet you. I am here on order for Surzech to keep things from getting out of hand during the meeting. I figured that we were going to be meeting the person Riaz was marrying, but I still wondered why I was here. I had nothing to do with this." Grafia looked at me with calculating eyes and tried to read me, but she most likely couldn't see anything about me from my face since it was almost always that same. Then an orange circle appeared on the ground, and coming out of it was a man with blonde hair who was wearing a white button-up under a dark red blazer that was unbuttoned. "Riaz dear, did you miss Riser? Cause Riser missed you lots, you know," he said as he quickly moved towards Riaz. "I did not miss you at all," she said with a stern glare. "Don't be like that. We have to do this marriage for the sake of the underworld, so you should at least try to like Riser," Riser said arrogantly. Riaz snapped back, "Well, we will see if you will be so prideful after our match." This put a grin on Riser's face. "Do you actually think you can beat Riser? Riser knows he gave you a week of prep time, but don't be so ignorant to the point where you think you can actually win." While Riser was talking, I decided to take a look at the people who came out of the orange summoning circle after him. Nobody really looked too important, but I did notice a few things. One is that they were all women, meaning that this guy was 100% a rich playboy kinda guy. Second, there was one person who stood out, that being a girl who had the same color hair as Riser and seemed more like she didn't belong there if anything. I guess there was also his queen who had purple hair and looked to be on par with Akino. Recently Drake has been training me on how to tell the aura of people. The larger the aura, the larger the threat. Grafia, who was just watching this unfold, had an aura that could easily put Riaz and Riser to shame even if they did a 2v1. After a while of Riser and Riaz's back and forth, Riser finally decided to take his leave. "Alright, well, it is about time Riser should get going," he said arrogantly. "Good, and never come back," Riaz yelled. TCH. He clicked his tongue, but of course before he left he had to turn his attention towards Sona, Tsubaki, and I. "And Riser will definitely enjoy fighting the Red Dragon Emperor the most," he said mockingly. "Wait, why am I involved in this?" I turned my head towards Sona, who had the same puzzled look on her face. With that, Riser finally took his leave with the rest of his peerage. "So why am I fighting exactly?" I asked. Your name was written down on the name of Riaz Gremory's teammates. Because she had never been in a rating game before, she was allowed 2 handicaps, one being the 1-week time prep and the second being to invite one other person to join her. I noticed Sona and Tsubaki were staring at Riaz with an angry glare, clearly looking for an explanation. "Well, he did say he was going to join our training camp, wasn't he? In return for that, he asked to help us beat Riser." Akino, while she was still smiling, had an aura that looked like she was pissed off. "Well, I don't really have a choice anymore, do I?" said. "If I decided to not go, then Sona and her peerage would lose major face for one of their members running away from a fight." Sona and Tsubaki knew this as well, which was why they were so angry with Riaz. "Well, now that is over, I will be taking my leave," Grafia started. "I look forward to seeing what you Issei." She then left the room with a small smirk on her face. After she left, though, the air was so tense that everyone was on edge. Even Kunikuo stopped eating her sweets. "How dare you, Riaz!" Sona finally yelled. "Not only did you put him down on your allies list, you also did sue when we already told you no." Riaz, sensing how mad Sona was, tried to calm the situation. "Sona, I am truly sorry, but I need all the help I can get for this one. I really am sorry," she said with a bow. Realizing that yelling wasn't going to do anything, Sona said in a cold voice, "Well, you owe us on now, remember that." After that, Riaz gave a nod. Then we sat there for an eternity before Akino finally spoke up. "Well, let's get going to the train spot, okay?" With that, everyone took their leave to go pack their stuff. I was walking with Sona and Tsubaki to go pick up Saji. "I really am sorry about that, Issei. I know you don't like being forced to do these kinds of things." "It's fine. Nothing we can do about it now," I said as we finally picked up Saji, who was waiting in the student council room. After we picked up Saji and dropped off Tsubaki, the 3 of us made our way to a large mansion on a hill in the middle of nowhere. I don't really know how they fund this place, but at least we won't be bothered. As we walked in, we all quickly went to our rooms, only to realize that we were 2 rooms short. Soon, and Saji had nowhere to go. "If you don't mind, Saji, you can stay with me," Kiba said with a grin. Saji was hoping that he and Sona could share a room, but now that hope was lost. Since I knew that Sona was not in the mood at all to see Riaz, I invited her to stay in my room, which she accepted. WHHHATTTT, Saji yelled. Please, you can't just share a room with him. I mean, what if he tries to do something weird with you? Before Sona could speak though, Ria started first. Yes, Sona, why don't you stay in my room? As I was trying to say I will be staying in Issei's room, Sona said coldly. Oh my, I heard Akino whisper as her cheeks flushed a little bit. After we got our stuff settled in our room, we all came down for dinner, which Akino and Kiba were making. After dinner was made, we all sat at the table while Rias explained what we were going to be doing. Issei, for the next week everyone is going to train you so you are ready to fight Riser. Kiba will teach you how to use a weapon, Kaneko will teach you sparring, and Sona, Akino, and I will take turns teaching you magic. I was confident in beating Kaneko easily in hand-to-hand combat even if she was a rook, but Kiba and the rest would be trouble since I have no idea how to use a sword and I am still new to magic. With that being said, we all ate our dinner with small talk here and there. After dinner we all headed up into our rooms, where I faced quite the predicament. I could either let myself sleep on the bed and Suna sleep on the floor since this is my room, or vice versa because she is my master. So do you want to sleep on the bed or? I asked. I thought we were going to both sleep on the bed, Sona replied. I had not expected her to be that straightforward, but it is a win-win situation, I thought. Okay then, I replied. We thankfully had a rather large bed so we didn't have to worry about anything awkward going on. Hey, Sona, I asked. She yelled out. Sorry, were you sleeping? And I know you just startled me a little bit, she replied nervously. Even though we had our backs to each other, I could tell that she was uncomfortable, so to make things easier for the both of us I decided to ask again if I should sleep on the floor. Are you sure you don't want me to sleep on the floor? I mean, I wouldn't mind it, you know. Sona didn't say anything for a while but finally said, you can still sleep here. Sorry if I'm a bit on edge, you're the first boy I have ever shared a bed with, so I just didn't really know what to expect. Sona replied with not as much nervousness in her voice as before, but it was still there. Alright then, I said as I finally went to sleep. When I woke up though, I found myself in a position I never thought I would end up in. Sona was sleeping directly on top of me with her face using my as a pillow. Now that I could really get to see her up close, I really got to see how beautiful she was. I already knew she was pretty, but seeing it up this close is something else. That's when I heard footsteps marching towards our room. Sona, hey Sona. I tried to wake her up before whosoever came into our room. She woke up after I called her name the second time. Oh, Issei, she said tiredly. But once she saw what she was doing, her face immediately went red and she pulled herself up. That was when Rias opened the door of our room coming and she yelled as she swung it open. She looked over at the bed and she even went red. To someone who had just walked in, this would probably look like something it wasn't. She was sitting directly on my stomach. What are you two doing? Rias yelled loud enough for everyone else to hear. Sona quickly got up with a flustered face and went into the bathroom that was in our room. Although the two girls had bright red faces, mine was just the same as usual. Then out of nowhere, Saji pooped in the door. You bastard, what did you do with Sona? He yelled. I didn't do anything. Rias was just overreacting, I said calmly. Saji looked at Rias and let out a sigh. Well, don't ever even think of doing that stuff with the priest, got it. That was when Sona came out of our bathroom and pinched Saji's cheek. Saji, why are you in here? She asked calmly, but you could see she was bad. Well, I thought Issei did something to you, so I came here to see if you were alright. Well, as you can see, I'm fine, so can both of you take your leave as we get ready? She asked in the same voice as before. They quickly left the room with that. Sorry about this morning, she said, embarrassed. Don't worry about it. It's not every day I get to wake up like that though, I replied back. Sona's face quickly went red again. I'm gonna go change, she said as she grabbed her bag and went into the bathroom. This is going to be a long week, I thought to myself. I went downstairs after the whole incident from this morning. I didn't let it bother me though as I grabbed some cereal and sat down at the kitchen table. Sitting with me were Kaneko and Kiba. I didn't really know them too well, so I mostly kept to myself and started eating. Kaneko was eating some sweets, which was surprising since it was 900 in the morning and Kiba was just sitting with us. After a while, Kiba finally broke the silence. So Issei, I heard you took down the fallen angel leader, is that right? I was the one who took him down, but it was mainly thanks to my team, I replied in a monotone voice. Well, even if your team did help you, you were the main one who fought her, right? Kiba said. Yeah, I said with a nod as I kept eating. Well, I hope you are ready for today since I will be your first training partner, Kiba replied with a grin on his face. I nodded again as I finished up my breakfast. As soon as I did though, everyone else came downstairs. Okay Issei, you will first be training with Kiba to learn how to use a sword. Then you will come with me and learn magic. After that, take a break for a bit, then you will have sparring with Kaneko, Rias told me. Okay, I replied back. Saji, you will first be sparring with Kaneko and then be learning magic with Issei at the same time. After that, take a break, then train with Kiba. Understand? Rias told Saji. Yes, Saji said way too enthusiastically. After that, I made my way towards the front yard with Kiba. When we arrived, I picked up a wooden sword that Kiba threw to me as he picked up another one. Issei, have you ever used a sword before? Kiba asked. No, when I fight I prefer hand to hand, I said back. Okay, well, let's see what you can do with a sword first and I'll try to give you tips and tricks as we go, he said with a smile. I got into what seemed right for a sword position and waited for Kiba to make his move. He finally decided to after 10 seconds and sped towards me super fast while swinging the wooden sword at my neck. I put up my sword and blocked off his attack much to his surprise. Wow, you have amazing reaction speed. I can see how you were able to defeat the fallen angels now, Kiba said with a smirk. I quickly flung his sword back and then backed up a little bit. He charged at me again, however this time he was going for a job on my body. I quickly jumped back to dodge, but then he appeared behind me and swung his sword so it was right at my neck. Okay, I see what you need to work on. All you need is experience. Kiba started. Your performance really surprised me back there. Not only could you block my attacks when you have never held a sword before, but you kept track of my movements the whole time, even at the end when I was going full speed. That's not true. At the end you were moving too fast for me to see at the end. I lied. All of what he said though made sense to me. I have never used a sword before and I could track all of his movements. I just didn't want him to know that. But your eyes were tracking me when I went behind you, he replied back. If I could have really seen you I would have blocked or dodged your attack, I said. He looked at me trying to see if I was lying but soon gave up. Alright then, ready for round 2, he asked with a smirk. I nodded and we went at it again. A few hours later it was time to call this training to an end. Kiba beat me every time, although I wasn't trying my absolute hardest. I got the hang of using a sword pretty quick, but I still acted like I was bad at using one. I would say though if we were to fight only using swords and I was giving in 100%, I would win 50% of the time. I went inside to a study room where my next training was taking place. Riaz was wearing glasses and sitting in a chair next to a board. Saji was sitting in a chair a little bit away from the board with a table right in front of him. When I sat down next to him I looked at him only to see his face all swollen and bruised. Kaneko must have roughed him up good, I thought. Issei, I'm surprised you came back without a single injury, Riaz said surprised. We were using wooden swords so I wasn't too badly injured, I said back. Riaz then quickly went into her lesson about magic. First I will teach you about the main things in Devil Society. First are the 4 Demon Kings, Surzech Lucifer, Seraphol Leviathan, Falbium Asmodeus, and Adjika Beelzebub. These are the new Demon Kings since all of the original Demon Kings died in the Great War between the angels, fallen angels, and the devils, Riaz said. She then went into the other factions and what they were named. For the fallen angels their leaders were Azazel, Shemyaza, and Kakabil. For the angels, there was God as their main leader and the other leaders were Michiel, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael. After that, she started going into magic. First thing I am going to teach you is basic. It is how to sense other races. If you focus on your eyes and look at me you should be able to tell I am a devil, Riaz said. It sounded very vague but I gave it a shot anyway. The feeling was weird. I could tell that she was a devil but I couldn't exactly tell how. Maybe it was something to do with magic. Saji yelled, I can't get it to work. He started complaining. Don't worry, after a while this will become so natural that you will be able to sense other races without having to focus at all, Riaz said. So how do we know what other races feel like, I asked. You will just simply be able to tell. For example, if you see a random person on the street and can tell that they're not from a race you have sensed before, you won't know what it is until you get confirmation. All races will sense like each other from the same race, so if you can sense I am a devil you will sense the same thing from Sona or any other devil, Riaz said. After that, she just started teaching us what to do when we encounter other races and what not. It was fairly boring food, the most of it. After we finished it was about 3:30 and I headed up to my room. When I opened the door I saw Sona sitting on a chair in the corner of the room looking at something on the desk right in front of her. I didn't want to bother her since she seemed pretty into what she was reading. Before I left I sensed to see was race Sona was, and just like how Riaz said she sensed just like her. Riaz also mentioned that the stronger an enemy is the stronger that person will feel around you. I left quietly to not disrupt her and started walking around the mansion. My training with Kaneko was at 500 so I had plenty of time to kill. As I was walking around I spotted Akino who also spotted me. Oh hi, Issei, she called out. Hey, I said as I walked toward her. I sensed to see what race she was to see the difference between reincarnated devils and pureed ones. When I did though I felt that while she mostly had an aura of a devil but also had an aura of something else. So what are you doing over here, Akino asked. Oh, I was just walking around to kill some time. Can I come with you? I know my way around here pretty well so I can show you around, Akino said. Hey, Drag, are you awake? I thought. Yes, I am awake. Is something wrong? The dragon asked. Can you tell me what other race Akino is? I'm sensing that she is not fully a devil, I replied. I noticed this fairly early on, but she is actually half demon and half fallen angel. Her fallen angel side is very weak right now since she has not used her fallen angel powers for a while. The dragon said. Okay, thank you, Drag, I thought before cutting the communication between us. I don't mind, I replied back to Akino. This put a smile on her face as we walked around the mansion having small talk ever here and there. After walking around I said goodbye to Akino and went to the backyard for some sparring with Kaneko. I heard from Kiba that you are a pretty good fighter. Let's see what you got, she said as she wrapped gloves around her fist. We didn't talk at all. Once she put the gloves on we were both ready for battle. This time I took the first move and dashed toward her. I swung with my right arm at her face which she quickly dodged and then threw one back at my gut which I was barely able to dodge. Not wanting to let her get the first move I started to kick her right in the face but she blocked it with her arm. After that, we both backed up a little bit. Despite her small body, Kaneko was an absolute powerhouse. Even though she blocked my kick my leg hurt from making contact with her arm. No wonder Kiba said you were good, Kaneko said. She had her other arm on the arm I just kicked, which meant I did do damage to her, which was good to know. I made my way back toward her again with a swing to her gut, which she dodged to the side, and then threw a kick toward my face, which I narrowly dodged by ducking under it. I quickly swooped her leg though before her other reached the ground and she fell. I went on top of her and raised a fist and slammed it down, but stopped right before her face. I got up after and gave her a hand. After she got up, Kaneko was too stunned to speak. She never thought that she would ever lose to someone who just become a devil. You are really good at fighting. How did you get so good? Kaneko asked in a surprised voice. A memory popped up of a man in his middle 40s saying, Issei, remember, in this world all that matters is you winning, it doesn't matter how it's done. I quickly snapped out of thought and lied to Kaneko I was just naturally gifted. Kaneko didn't seem to believe me for 1 second, but we kept on sparring until 600. Even though it was supposed to be training for me, it seemed like Kaneko was learning a lot more than I was during these spars. While Kaneko was walking away, I sensed that she was a devil, but also had some unknown force inside her similar to a Kino, but definitely not a fallen angel. Drake, can you tell me what other race she is? I thought. Sorry partner, she feels familiar but I can't tell exactly what she is, Drake said. Okay, thanks anyway, I thought before ending communication. After that, I went and had dinner with everyone there. Man, Issei, you sure are good at fighting, Kiba said while eating his food. Yeah, I couldn't even beat you once, Kaneko added. Thank you, I said as I kept eating. Saji looked even worse than before with new bruises and scratches everywhere. We all finished dinner and headed to our room to rest. After a few hours went by of just me on my phone, I decided to call it a night and go to bed, and Sona also decided to do the same. Hey, Sona, I asked. Yes, Sona replied. She didn't seem like she was nervous like before. That was good. Who exactly is Akino and Kaneko? I can tell that Akino is part fallen angel, but what about Kaneko? Sona didn't say anything for a while but finally decided to respond. What I'm about to tell you stays between us, okay? I understand, I said in my monotone voice. Akino was born half fallen angel and half human. I don't know what happened after, but she was then reincarnated as a devil by Rias. The fallen angel she was related to was Barakil. He is subleader class and is very strong. Kaneko on the other hand is half devil and half Nekomata. They both don't use their powers because of personal reasons they have with other people who are the same as them. Akino's being her father and Kaneko being her sister Kuroka. I see, I started. What power does Barakil have? I asked. He has the power of holy lightning. She suddenly cut herself off after realizing what I was after. You're going to make her use her fallen angel side, aren't you? Yes, from what I have heard from Rias, Riser is someone who is immortal and has the ability to create fire out of anywhere on his body. Since devils are very weak to light, if she could make light spears of doing something even better that involves light, we would have a much better chance of winning, I replied coldly. If that's how you are going to do this, I won't stop you. However, remember that I never told you any of this. Rias made it clear that whoever knew the secrets of Akino and Kaneko are not allowed to tell anyone without her permission. Don't worry, I won't say a thing, I replied before going to sleep. The next few days went by the same as they did on the first day. Each day though, I kept getting to know Akino more and spent more time with her. On the last day after dinner is when I made my move. After everyone should have gone to sleep, I got up to leave and head to Akino's room. Good luck, Sona said. I was surprised that she was still awake but still kept going. After a while, I finally reached Akino's room, which was right next to Rias's, so I had to be careful not to be too loud. I knocked on her door very quietly, and after a few seconds, a very sleepy Akino opened the door. Issei, what do you need? She asked, half awake. Let's talk outside if you're okay with that, I replied. I made our way to the front porch with Akino, who was wide awake and had a slight blush on her face. So what did you need to talk about, Issei? She asked. It's about Riser and how we are going to win, I said coldly, startling Akino. As shouldn't we discuss this with everyone then? She said. No, us winning completely depends on you, and I think you know what you have to do, I said coldly. What are you talking about, Issei? She said as she was taken back by how cold I was. Normally I would just be monotone and show no emotion, but now I was being different. I was being cold with her and way more different from when we were talking before. Except your fallen angel side. That is the only way we will win. This quickly shocked Akino as she realized her secret has been discovered. How did you find out? She asked, defeated. I can tell but sensing it. Even though it's hard to see, you are clearly half devil and half fallen angel, I said. I will never use these powers that horrible man gave me, she yelled. You don't know what it's like to have your mother killed in front of you just because she was married to a fallen angel. Let me change the question then, I started. Which do you care more about, Rias and the rest of your team, or your pride? Hearing the question directly stunned Akino as she now had a few tears rolling down her cheeks. 2. She was trying to answer but nothing was coming out. You know what will happen if you lose this match, correct? You, Rias, and Kaneko will all be forced to do whatever Riser says, whether you want to or not, I said coldly. Now Akino was sobbing uncontrollably. 2. Just don't know what to do. I don't want to have us belong to Riser, but I don't want to use my fallen powers either, she said while crying. I put a hand on her shoulder and said life is never going to be fair, and trust me, I know that all too well, but that doesn't mean we just sit back and do nothing. If we stay stuck in the past, then we will be left behind as everyone else moves on into the future. She stopped crying and processed what I said. I guided her to a bench on the front porch where we both sat down at. After a few minutes, she finally spoke up with a few tears still rolling down her face. When I was younger, I had a wonderful family, a mom who loved me as well as a father who loved me. But that all changed when one day a bunch of people came to our house looking for my dad. I and my mom knew about fallen angels. I even had a pair of black feathered wings. But when the people found out he wasn't there, they decided to kill us instead. My mom died protecting me, and I was about to die when my dad finally returned and killed them. He looked at me and apologized, but I said that I hated being a fallen angel and I wish I was never born one. After that day, even though we lived in the same house, I never spoke to him. A few years later, though, Riaz offered me a chance to become a devil, which I jumped at immediately, Akino said with her tears starting to increase again. I didn't say anything, but I embraced her in a hug and let her cry until there were no more tears left to cry. But even after, I still kept her in a hug. Do you think we can really win and I use my powers? She asked. Of course, all you have to worry about is Riser. I'll take care of everything else, I replied. This put a small smile on Akino's face. I let her out of the hug and said, well, it is pretty late out, we should be getting to bed, I said in my regular monotone voice. Was the you back there the real you? Akino asked. I think I'm always me, I replied. Are you going to stop hanging around me now because you know how I really am? She shook her head. Even though you surprised me a bit, I'm glad I found someone who can tell me what I need to be told, she said as she grabbed my hand and led me upstairs. Akino, you just went past my room, I whispered. I know you're going to sleep in my room for tonight. After what you told me, I'm sure you can understand, right? She said with a blush. Sona is going to be pissed, I thought. I let out a sigh of defeat as we went inside her room and fell asleep on the bed with her coddling me. Well, this solves tomorrow's battle with Riser, but I feel like I'm going to be in big trouble tomorrow for this, I thought as I finally went to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, Akino was fully embracing me, but she was still asleep. I quickly got out of her hug and peeked out of the room to make sure no one saw me leaving. Once I made sure everything was good, I left the room, but thanks to my luck, as soon as I left, I saw Saji, the person who would make the biggest deal out of this. He had his jaw dropped looking at me. Do I try to explain? That may just make matters worse though, I thought. I quickly closed the door to Akino's room and tried to make my way past Saji, but before I could, he yelled out. Issei, did you sleep with Akino? Did you really have to yell so loud everyone in the house could hear? I thought. Before I could answer though, Riaz came out of her room looking pissed from what she just heard. Issei, did you really do that with her? Riaz asked angrily. No, it's just one big misunderstanding, a very sleepy Akino said. That's when everyone else came over into the hall. Then why were you in her room? Riaz asked coldly. I just wanted to discuss a battle strategy, I replied. I looked over at everyone else. Kiba had a small grin as he found this kind of funny. Kaneko looked the same as ever, but Sona was clearly the most upset. She was clearly pouting since she didn't expect me to sleep in her room even if she knew that I was going to see her last night. What strategy did you guys discuss without me? Don't forget, as the king I get to decide what we do. My word is final, Riaz replied. We'll talk about it right before it starts. Anyway, isn't Grafia supposed to be here now? Akino chimed in. A few minutes later, Grafia showed up with a magic circle under her. Hello everyone, please stand on the teleportation circle to be teleported to the raiding game battlefield, Grafia said. With that, we all stepped on the teleportation circle and were teleported away. When we arrived, I realized that we were in the Occult Research Club room in the old school building, but in another dimension. Now that we have arrived, I will be taking Sona and Saji to the spectators area, Grafia said. Issei, I wish you the best of luck, not that you'll need it though, Sona said with a smirk. Saji waved goodbye and the three of them teleported away. We waited in the room for a bit when Grafia's voice went through a giant speaker. Hello everyone, my name is Grafia Lucifuge and I will be the referee of this battle. Riaz's team is located in the Occult Research Club room in the old school building. Riser's team is located in the Student Council room. Both teams will have 20 minutes to make a plan and to set things up. After the time has passed, I will let you know and the game will begin. With that, we all sat down on the two couches and Riaz started to talk. Alright, I have come up with a plan to defeat Riser, so listen carefully. Issei and Kaneko will go into the gym and take care of any people in there. After they do that, Akino will blow up the gym after Issei and Kaneko leave, killing and the people still in there. Kiba will go into the forest and set up traps. I will face Riser alone. Everyone seemed content with the plan until Akino spoke up. Shouldn't we also listen to Issei's plan as well? We have plenty of time. Riaz obviously didn't want to listen, but she allowed it anyway. With that, everyone sat down and looked at me. Here goes nothing, I thought. To put this plan simply, it will hopefully be a fast knockout. Kiba and Kaneko will go into the gym and take care of everyone in there. After that, they will go around and take care of the other pieces all over the area. Riaz will go immediately to Riser and face him down right away. I will take care of their queen, and Akino will stay back until I beat the queen. After that, I will join Kiba and Kaneko, and Akino will join Riaz. Everyone looked at me in disbelief. Even though the plan could work on paper, the chances of it actually working was very slim. However, what most people didn't know was that Akino was going to use her fallen angel powers. I kept it a secret from everyone since Riser's team could be listening, but Akino knows what to do. There is no way that's going to work, Riaz yelled. Sona went on and on about how smart you are, but you're actually an idiot. I can't really fault her for thinking that. At first glance, this plan seemed crazy and foolish, but if you knew the hidden ace, then this plan seems genius. Hold on, press, Kiba said. Issei, this plan is awfully reckless, you know that, right? I nodded my head. With that, Kiba picked up on something, that there was more to this plan than what I said. Kiba had been training with me for the past few days, and while I never went all out against him, he could tell I'm not the type to make foolish decisions. Kaneko seemed to be feeling the same way. But Issei, where are you hiding that could change this plan so much? Kiba wondered to himself. I say we go along with Issei's plan, Kiba said, surprising everyone except me. Kiba, you can't be serious, you know that plan will never work, Rias yelled. 2 minutes remaining. Graphia's voice said. Damn, Rias muttered under her breath. Here, everyone take one of these, it will make us be able to talk to each other telepathically. It was a small earphone that went right into our ear and then disappeared. How convenient was this? I could now tell them the full plan, I thought. I knew that Rias would not be on board with this plan, but I couldn't talk about Akino using her fallen angel powers without having to worry about Riser secretly listening in on our conversation. Since Grafia said that we can set things up that pretty much meant do anything but attack the other team, so there would be a chance that they could use magic to listen in on us, but now that we have these we don't have to worry. Listen up, Akino said to everyone telepathically. I am going to use my fallen angel powers for this fight. That is why Issei thought of this and why it will work as well. After she said that, everyone's eyes went wide. Nobody had expected her to say that, not even Rias, who knew her the most. Because they heard that Akino was going to use her fallen angel powers, that made everyone start to like the plan, so much that Rias couldn't say no. Fine, we'll go along with your plan, but if it goes wrong you're going to pay, she said angrily. Match starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and begin, Grafia said. And with that everyone took their leave to get to their spots. So a full frontal attack plan, huh? Riser said aloud. Riser had not expected his future wife to be so dumb. With the info he learned thanks to Yubaluna's spell, he divided up his forces accordingly. He would send 2 knights and 2 rooks to take care of Kiba and Kaneko, who would be in the gym, and sent all 8 of his pawns to attack Akino, who would be staying at the home base for a while. He decided that he would defeat Rias himself and that Yubaluna could take care of the Red Dragon Emperor. Kekek, how foolish can you be, Rias, to follow such a dumb plan? Riser chuckled to himself. I quickly headed out to try and find their queen when a purple-haired woman was flying a few meters ahead of me. Nice to meet you, Red Dragon Emperor, Yubaluna said. Are you Riser's queen? I replied with an apathetic voice while activating my boosted gear. Yes, I am, and I will also be your opponent, she yelled while pointing her staff forward. I quickly jumped to the side and looked to where I just was. There was a giant hole from an explosion she just made. I guess they don't call her the Bomb Queen for nothing, I thought. Boost. I quickly activated my devil wings and started to fly up to her. I learned how to fly thanks to Sona during the training camp, since flying would be very useful for this battle. I then threw a punch at her face. It pushed her back a bit. Not bad for someone who just before a devil, she said while wiping the spot I just punched her. She then pointed her staff forward and let off a barrage of explosions, which I dodged by flying around. 4 of Riser's pawns eliminated, Grafia's voice said through a speaker. Yubaluna was thrown off by this, so I used the time and sent a razor-sharp water blade right at her face, which she barely dodged as it scratched the side of her face. TCH, she clicked her tongue. 4 of Riser's pawns eliminated, Grafia's voice said once again. That meant that he had no pawns anymore. Boost. What? How that doesn't make sense. Even if she is a powerful demon, for her to take on 8 pawns alone is just insane. Yubaluna said, shocked. She didn't let her guard down this time, but I still made my move as she kept casting bomb magic right where I was that I had to keep dodging. This time I flew right at her and slammed my fist right in her gut, making her cough up as she slammed to the ground. I flew down next to her to see that her body was slowly turning into a light blue particle. In raiding games, it's very unlikely to die. Right before you get hit with a fatal blow or have severe enough injuries, your body gets teleported to a health clinic to treat your wounds. With her disappearing, I started to make my way toward Kiba and Kaneko, since they were both doing a 2v1 right now. Once the queen's defeat was officially announced, Akino would make her move and help out Rias with Riser. As I started flying away though, I got hit in the back with a large explosion. What the hell, she should be too weak to move, I thought as I fell to the ground and looked back at Yubaluna. Boost. Yubaluna had just thrown a vial to the ground and looked like she had no injuries. I guess no one told you what Phoenix tears are, she started. They are made by Riser's family and can heal any injury once drank. I got back up and looked at her. Why did nobody tell me about those? That would have been useful info, I thought. Yubaluna lifted her staff into the air again and let off more explosions than you could imagine. I was narrowly dodging everyone, using the smoke off all the explosions, though I managed to surround her in smoke and she couldn't tell where I was. She smiled at this and said, a cunning one, are we? She then sensed the area for demonic energy. Found you, she said as she launched a large explosion, but to her surprise she hit nothing. Then before she could react, I let out a giant fire breath right behind her, sending her out of the game. I managed to deceive her by placing a descent-sized area of lingering magic that would have no effect on anything. But if you were scanning for demonic powers, that would be the only thing you sensed, because I had enough boost that I mainly had the aura of a dragon, and because she was looking for demonic energy, she assumed the lingering pile of magic would be me. Riser's queen eliminated, Grafia said. Ria's rook eliminated, Grafia continued. With that I took off toward Kiba since he was now in a 4v1 and Akino should be on her way to Rias. After around 40 seconds I found Kiba was covered in scratches and had both knights fighting him while the two rooks were just sitting and chatting inside the gym. Kiba noticed me and didn't say anything while I snuck in through the back door and sent water blades to the two rooks. Only one of them managed to dodge, the other got pulled out because she wouldn't have been able to dodge and then would be decapitated. My sneak attack had distracted the two knights fighting Kiba, so Kiba was finally able to get some breathing space. That was a bit dirty, don't you think? One of the rooks said. All is fair in war, right? I replied. While that conversation took place, Kiba made his way next to me. Sorry, Kaneko and I weren't able to get much done, he started while catching his breath. We were too focused on defense to get any real attacks in. Are you still able to fight? I asked. Yeah, but I can only hold out against one opponent for right now, so you are going to have to fight too, Kiba said. I sighed at that. Fighting 2-on-1 wasn't impossible, but it would be a pain to deal with. Boost. Alright, I'll take a knight and the rook, you got the other knight, I said before charging at the rook. I aimed my fist for her face, but she dodged and sent a kick right at my face. I grabbed her leg while it was coming toward me and threw it at the knight who was coming to assist her. No wonder you defeated our queen, you sure are a tough one, the knight said. I didn't say anything but waited for them to make their next move. Currently, Kiba and the other knight were going at it and I had lots of boosts charged up, so I was a big threat to them right now. The two girls suddenly came at me, one from each direction. The knight got there first and swung her sword right at my neck, which I dodged, but when I did, the rook was about to slam a kick into my side. I jumped out of the way to dodge it. Immediately after, they came at me from two different directions again, but this time I sent some water blades at the rook to halt her movements since she had to dodge them. As soon as I finished sending the water blades, the knight was ready to swing her sword down on me, but I was ready. I turned around to kneed her in the gut, which made her get the wind knocked out of her. I then summoned a water blade and landed a huge cut all across her body, making her leave the game. One of Riser's knights eliminated, Grafia said. Now it was time for the rook. I could sense her coming right behind me, so I turned around with a backhand right across the face and sent her flying. I quickly gave chase and slammed my fist into her face as she was trying to get back up, rendering her unconscious and making her leave the game. One of Riser's rooks eliminated. One of Riser's knights eliminated. One of Riser's bishops eliminated. I looked over at Kiba, who clearly was not in a good state. Sorry, I can't do more. I'll leave the rest to you, Issei, Kiba said with a smile before disappearing. One of Riaz's knights eliminated, Grafia called out. With that, it only left me, Riaz, and Akino versus Riser, and one of his bishops. I flew over to the roof of the main school building to see the battle taking place. I knew that Akino had to win this game. I definitely didn't want Riser to use all of us like playthings, but I also didn't want to let down Issei's expectations of me. I quickly sent down another holy lighting right where Riser was standing, who seemed to be freaking out right now. Impossible, how did Riser's whole peerage get taken out? He yelled in rage. His bishop was Ravel Phoenix, who was trying to calm her brother down, but it was clearly not working. When the battle between us just started, Riaz was in pretty bad shape, and just to show how strong he was even without his queen, he let me hit him with a lightning strike that he didn't know was holy. He immediately started coughing up and his region was working way slower than it normally does. He started dodging the lightning strikes, with Riaz adding more pressure with her aura of destruction. While I did have to take care of all 8 of Riser's pawns, they were light work since holy energy was so strong against demons. I guess Issei was right when he said we could win if I used my power. Even though I did have to do more than just fight Riser, as Issei said, I was still in tip-top shape, striking down lots of holy lightning at Riser. This had me thinking though, Issei was definitely an interesting person. He never showed emotions, and yet I felt attracted to him. A big part of it was what he told me the night before, but I couldn't help to always think about him since the first day we met. I quickly got those thoughts out of my head though, since I was in the middle of battle. I sent down multiple lighting strikes which Riser dodged, and then he sent out fire out of his body right at me and Riaz. Riaz defended us with her aura, but I could still feel how hot these flames were. After the flames settled down, Riaz surrounded Riser with her aura, making him have to fly to dodge it. But because he had to go straight up, he immediately got struck by holy lightning and got sent back down to the roof. Then Riaz's aura swarmed him and started to destroy his body as he started coughing up. Right before I could send another holy lightning, Ravel stood in front of her brother with tears in her eyes. I know we have Riser Fenix peerage forfeit, Ravel said with tears streaming down her face. Riser was still conscious but too weakened to say or do anything. Winner of the match, Riaz Gremory, Grafia said. With that, Issei watched from the roof of the gym as Akino and Riaz celebrated their win over Riser. Akino spotted me soon after and started flying toward me and Riaz close behind. Issei, I cannot truly thank you enough for what you have done for me as well as for what you have done for Riaz and the rest of him. Thank you, Akino said while bowing her head. I must admit that your plan was a smart one. I guess we owe you one, as she said with a small blush on her face. Then a portal opened up with Grafia, Sona, and Saji all coming out of it. WOOWSA, Saji yelled, you were awesome back there, you were destroying Riser peerage completely. While Saji was ranting about how well I did, I noticed Sona was looking more serious than usual. She looked at me, signaling that we would talk about it later, so I brushed it off for right now. Issei, you did an outstanding job today. Well done, Grafia said. Thanks, I replied. While everyone was cheering about how they won, I just wanted to go home, so I just sat on the roof of the gym with Sona next to me. The rest of the group had gone to go check on Kiba Nad Kaneko, so now it was just me and Sona. Do you want to talk about it now? I asked while looking into the purplish sky that this arena was set in. Sona looked around to make sure no one was around, then started talking. I have a feeling that we made an enemy out of one of the big households. I don't know what we did, but apparently, Deodora Staroth insisted on watching this match. And other households normally mind their own business when it comes to things that don't involve their own house. But not only did Deodora insist on watching, he was even sending out killing intent to me, so much that Grafia was assigned to sit next to me if things got out of hand. He was mainly looking at you though throughout the match. It could be one of his outbursts, but you can never be too careful, Sona said seriously. Assuming that they didn't have any involvement with the Phoenix family could only mean that what angered him is what happened at the church. This means he most likely is going to betray the demons to side with the Fallen or some other force, I thought. I kept this to myself for right now, since throwing out random accusations without any definitive proof is never good. Alright, well, can you drop me off at my place? I asked. I didn't know how to use magic circles yet and it was already 100 in the morning. Sure, but do you mind if I crash at your place for tonight? Sona asked. That's fine, but why? Well, it's already super late and I'm already fairly tired, Sona said with a small blush on her face. I could tell she was lying, but I didn't really care so much, so I let her stay over. Sona then teleported us outside my house, which we had to sneak into to not wake my parents up. After which I got out a futon for Sona and then started to close my eyes when Sona whispered, Issei, I know it's a bit weird asking, but can I sleep on the bed with you? I can't sleep on the floor, she said with her face super red. Sure, even if my bed was not big enough for 2 people, I didn't really care since I wanted to go to sleep. With that, Sona snuggled in bed next to me and we both fell asleep. Hey there, Issei, Drake called out. What do you need? I replied. I had just fallen asleep after the battle with Riser and his peerage, so I was hoping he didn't call me here to train. I have 2 things to tell you, Drake started, first being that you can probably activate your balance breaker now. What's a balance breaker? I asked. A balance breaker is when a sacred gear user becomes powerful enough to forcefully evolve the sacred gear to be something stronger. You actually had another upgrade before the battle with Riser, but I didn't think that you would need it since you weren't facing Riser together with Akino. Can I do both of the upgrades right now? Yes, activate your sacred gear. I did as I was instructed and the red gauntlet appeared on my arm. Now channel as much energy as you can into the gauntlet. When I did that, I noticed that the gauntlet had become a bit longer and had another gem added onto the gauntlet. It was just a little bit below where the other one was. This new ability allows you to transfer your power to other people, but in return, you will have to restart your boost. Also, since you have now awakened this power, this will now be your primary form for your sacred gear, Dreg said. Okay, so how do I activate my balance breaker then? I asked. Since I am here, I can jumpstart it for you. Afterward, you will have to remember this feeling and it will activate. Well, that I felt lots of power from my sacred gear enter my body, but it soon cooled down with red armor covering my whole body with green gems on the back of my hands, elbows, and knees. My helmet looked a little bit like Drake's face looked and had yellow horns coming out from where the ends of where my lips would be. In this mode, you can do everything you normally do but better. You are stronger, faster, and more durable. Not to mention that you can still add boosts onto that, Drake said with pride. It was true, I ran around a bit and I did feel faster. When I tried to fly, a pair of dragon wings came out that I also quickly got the hang of. Well, thanks for telling me, Drake. I'm gonna go now. See you later, I said while I left the sacred gear's consciousness. When I woke up, I noticed that Sona was tightly hugging me. I checked my phone and saw that time was 10:24. I wonder why my alarm didn't go off or why my parent didn't wake me up. That's when Sona finally woke up as well. Hey, don't we have to go to school today? We're going to be seriously late, I said with a straight face. We don't have to go to school today, so let's go back to sleep, a very tired Sona replied. So you turned off my alarm? I asked. Sona had already fallen asleep though, so I escaped her grasp and went downstairs to see why my parent hadn't woken me up. When I was on the stairs, however, I heard people talking, so I went downstairs to see who it was. Oh, good morning, Issei. Let me introduce these people to you. My mom started first is the blue-haired beauty Zenobia, and the straight, blonde-hair girl is Ikanos. And you know that last one, she is Arena Shido, your childhood friend. What? I asked myself. These 3 girls were all wearing robes that had crosses sketched on them and had real crosses hanging on their necks. Zenobia scoffed that I was a devil and Ikanos waved at me with one hand with a smile on her face, but those weren't the things that surprised me. Not even the fact that they were from the church surprised me. What surprised me was my childhood friend Arena Shido. Since we grew up together, she was the only other pupil to that man. While she was waving at me too with a smile on her face, I knew that even if she was from the church, she was a monster, just like me. But not the monster that you would normally think of. This girl was 100% human, but the way she thinks and moves is something not to be messed with. So, why are you guys here? I asked with a blank expression. I'm going to be letting them stay here for a while, my mom said with a grin. Wait, isn't this really bad right now? I have one of the Demon King's daughters in my room right now. If they find that out, can't they just stay at a hotel? I asked bluntly. We would have, but this one insisted on buying a picture and using all of our money, Zenovia said while looking at Irina. You know that picture had holiness inside of it. Besides, you know I normally don't spend money without a good reason, Irina said while she glanced a quick grin at me. So that's what you're after, I thought. That's true, she normally is fairly responsible, Ikanos chimed in. Then the three of them started arguing about who was right when Sona finally came downstairs. Oh, Issei, that's where you were. Wait, who are these people? Sona asked while she cut herself off. I could ask the same thing, Ikanos started. What are you doing here? Yay, what is she doing here, Issei? Irina asked while staring me in the eyes with the most insane-looking glare you could ever imagine. Yup, she's the same as I remember, I thought. She's a friend who was spending the night, I lied. Actually, about that, I'm going to start living here, Sona replied. Huh, my mom and Irina said at the same time. Sona then fully came down the stairs and checked the girls' attire and realized they were from the church. Wait, I don't even know who you are, my mom pleaded. My name is Sona Shitori, nice to meet you, she said with a bow. Well, I don't have any spare rooms to give, my mom started. That's fine, I'll sleep in Issei's bed like I did last night, Sona said with a grin glaring at Irina. I know I can't do anything here, but Sona, you really should not make that woman mad, I thought. Issei, is that true? My mom asked. Yay, but we didn't do anything weird, I said emotionlessly. Well, I suppose that it's okay, my mom said nervously. With that, my mom headed out for work. She called in saying that she would be late since these three showed up right as she was leaving. So why are there devils here, Irina? Zenovia said while unclothing something that was hidden on her back. When she revealed it and pointed it at me and Sona, I felt like my whole body was telling me that this thing is dangerous. Zenovia, put it down, Irina asked nicely. But Irina, I said, put it down, she said while staring at Zenovia again. Fine, Zenovia said while she reclothed the sword. I guess I do have to explain why we are here since we are going to be living here. Irina started. The first reason is that Excalibur was stolen by one of the fallen angel leaders, Kakabil. Hey, Irina, is it really okay to tell them this? Ikanos asked. Yay, and also what's the second reason? I thought the only reason we were here was to get the Excaliburs, Zenovia added. To their questions, Irina let out a light chuckle and said the second reason, the most important reason, is to finally see Issei again. She then jumped on me and wrapped me in a hug. To this, all the other girls were looking at us like unknown creatures that they have never seen before. Irina, can you let go now? I asked. Awa, you're so mean. We haven't seen each other in so long and you're giving me the cold shoulder. Is it because of the Citri girl right there? If it is, I will gladly dispose of her now. Irina responded with an evil-looking grin. Wait, first of all, how did the Excaliburs get stolen? Sona asked. To her question, Irina finally let go of me and answered. Apparently Kakabil has joined forces with a terrorist group called the Cho's Brigade. Because of that, they snuck in and stole the Excaliburs and gave them to Kakabil. Why he did it, however, is still unknown. At this, Sona nodded her head in understanding. Okay. But before she could finish her sentence, Irina interrupted her. Now that I've answered your questions, you have to answer mine. Why is Issei a devil? She asked while looking at Sona with the most insane-looking eyes you could ever imagine. Sona, while being disturbed by her gaze, still answered. Normally he was about to die from a fallen angel because he had the boosted gear, so I saved him by reincarnating him into a devil. Irina looked at me to try and see what I thought about this, but figured that I would be fine since if I really wanted out I could handle myself. Also, just one more question, what is your relationship with Issei? She asked with an even more insane-looking glare. What do you mean? It's only master to servant or like friend to friend. We're not like that yet. Very well then. Since we'll all be living here, let's try to get along, okay? Irina said. To this, everyone left to do their own thing until it was around 900 at night. Issei, come with me for a bit, Irina called out. We both then went outside on a walk in silence for a while until she finally spoke up. I'm surprised that you found someone that you care even a little bit about. That's not me. When we were younger, my parents had been going on business trips much more than they do now. They were partially never home. Because of that, my uncle had to watch over me, and since Irina's parents also left home a lot, he watched over us both when we were younger. When he first met us, I still remember what happened. My mom and dad had both just left the house and left off my uncle, who looked like your average person, but I felt that he was a bit weird and I couldn't exactly figure out why. Issei, Irina, I have a question for that both of you. He started. You have heard about the killer on the news, correct? Do you think that what he's doing is right or wrong? Wrong, Irina and I answered together. But what if this person was killing only that bad people, people that have done unforgivable things to other people? To that, Irina and I didn't know how to respond. We were fairly smart for our age, but this question was too much for our younger selves to answer. Sure enough, he was killing bad people, but does that justify killing? To our troubled expressions, my uncle let out a small grin. If you guys would like, I can teach you how to survive in this horrible world. To that, our younger selves agreed, not knowing what we put ourselves into. From that day on, he trained us every single day. By the time Irina and I were 9, we could both solve almost any equation out there, and while Irina kept her human feeling due to her affection toward me, I started to lose mine, becoming emotionless. Also, when we were 9 years old, we both knew martial arts very well and could fight with my uncle to an even match or better. By the time we were 10, however, something happened. Irina was going to be moving away. Our parents had no idea what my uncle was teaching us, so my uncle decided to have one last geroucher. After this meeting, you will both be graduating. He started in a serious tone. Do you guys remember that very first task I gave you? The one that I said would be the hardest and would take the most time. To this, Irina and I both nodded to find out who the killer is that has been here since the first day we met. I answered, well, do you both have your answer? He asked with a grin. To that, Irina and I both pointed out fingers at him. It's you, Irina said. That's correct. I am the killer, he said with a smile. To that, all of us just stood there in silence, but after a while, my uncle spoke up. I'm going to turn myself into the police after this as well. This completely shocked Irina and I, but I kept my composure while Irina started lashing out. Why? I know you're a killer, but you only killed bad people, so you shouldn't have to do this. You know that they'll execute you, Irina cried out. Is that your answer to the first question I gave you? Then Issei, what's your answer? I looked at him in the eyes before responding. I think both are right. You killed people, but you only killed bad people. In a sense, you are right and wrong. There is no correct answer. To this, my uncle started laughing. Yes, that is correct, Issei, but the right answer for me may be different from the right answer for you. I'm turning myself in because I have killed everybody that has done terrible things in this town. I have fulfilled my role and now have 2 successors. Irina started crying while I kept my cool. Even though we found out he was the killer fairly quickly, that did not make him a bad person. In the beginning, the training he put us through felt like hell, but now we were grateful to him for what he had done for us. With that, he took his leave. On the news the next morning, they announced they had found the killer and executed him to atone for his murders. To that, Irina was crying on the couch while I sat next to her with my hand on her head. Irina, don't forget that this was his decision, I said. No, it's just that they don't know how nice he was, Irina replied back while still crying. Remember though, he said that while to us he was a nice person, to others he was a murderer that killed indiscriminately. When I said that, Irina started crying into my shirt while I hugged her back. After that day, Irina and her family finally left, leaving me all alone in this town where nobody would ever understand me. End of flashback. I finally found someone that I can relate to, even if it's only a little bit. Of course, I'd like her, I said. So Sona Citri thinks like you and I, huh? Irina responded. With that, we finished our walk and came back home. However, there was someone leaning against the door. Who are you? Irina called out. I am the White Dragon Emperor. With that, the figure came out of the shadows with a big grin on her face. She had long white hair and a rather large bust too. Drake mentioned something like this before. Apparently, the Red Dragon Emperor was the arch-rival of the Wild Dragon Emperor, since they have always been fighting each other, even before they were sealed into sacred gears. I'm assuming you're not here to fight, I said casually. Since he didn't attack me right away, I figured he wanted to talk or maybe even just introduce herself. That's correct, Red Dragon Emperor. I am Vali Lucifer. I came here just to see what my rival looked like and whatnot. I must say I was pretty sad when I found out that you were only a just reincarnated devil, but your eyes tell me that there may be more to you than it looks, she said while looking me in the eyes. I'm Issei Hayadu. Now can I go inside my house? Sure, I only came to see what you were all about after all, but we may be fighting soon, so be ready for that. With that, she took away with her devil wings. So she's the heir of the original Lucifer, I thought. I looked at Irina, who looked super pissed, but I calmed her down and we finally went inside, only to see Sona, Zenobia, and Ikanos waiting on the couch for us. Issei, Irina, please sit down for a moment, Sona said. We took out seats and then Sona continued speaking again. After school tomorrow we are to all meet up inside the Occult Research Club room school. Since members of the church are here and this town is under Gremory territory, you have to introduce yourselves and explain why you are here straight to them. Nobody really seemed pleased about this except Ikanos. I've never met a Gremory before. I can't wait, she said excitedly. After that discussion, I went up into my room only to realize both Irina and Sona were following me. Are you both planning on sleeping in my room? I asked. They both nodded their heads at that. Well, then at least one of you are going to have to sleep on the floor. My bed is barely large enough for 2 people. When I said that, both of them started arguing, which I tuned out while I grabbed a futon mattress out of the closet and laid it in my room. Then I laid in my bed and finally started going to sleep, but that was when I felt 2 more people get on the bed as well. You got to be kidding me, I thought. Of course, it was Irina and Sona. I guess they reached a concussion that they both could sleep there, even though I told them there would not be enough space. Sona was sleeping right in front of my face and Irina was sleeping on top of me. I tried to push Irina off, but in response to that she hugged me with a super hard grip and was clearly not letting go. How did it get to this? I wondered before I finally fell asleep. You cannot be serious, was the first thing I thought as I woke up. Both Sona and Irina were still sleeping, but Sona was using me as a body pillow and Irina was using my face as her own pillow. Somehow I managed to get out of bed and wake up Sona. Hey, we got to go, I said quietly. Sona wakes up and then gets out of bed. I go downstairs while Sona gets ready for school, only to realize Ikanos is up as well. Good morning, she says in her normally happy voice. Morning, I reply back. I start making some breakfast before she calls out to me, Issei, you and Irina are geniuses, aren't you? Well, they came out of nowhere, I thought. What makes you think that? I say while I wait for my toast to be done. She says while staring at me. Did Irina really tell her that we're geniuses? She is the type of person to go above and beyond when she does show off, but she wouldn't do it for no reason. Just a guess, she says with a smile on her face. She has really good intuition, I thought. Finally, everybody woke up and I was eating my breakfast downstairs with everybody else at the table with me. Apparently, Mom and Dad left for a trip really early this morning, so I don't know when they'll be back. After a while, Sona and I leave and head for school together, but then Irina called out, "Wait, Issei, where are you going?" "To school," I replied. I knew what her reaction would be, so I wanted to avoid bringing it up, but it seems I have no choice. "School. H-A-H-A-H-A-H-A-H." Irina then started dying of laughter. "Well, we're gonna go. Bye," I said. Wait, Irina says as she tries to regain her breath. "I'll go as well. We have to be there after school anyway, so I'll be a student checking out the school." "That works out fine," Sona said. And with that, the three of us took off to school. "Let me introduce a new student that will be viewing today. Everyone meet Irina Shidu," Sensei called out. WOAH boys and girls called out alike. She was definitely a beauty, so it made sense why everyone was all over her. While she was doing our greetings, one thing that bothered me now was the fact that Horikita was now sitting right next to me for some reason. Sensei said that there's no use in having two-person desks with only one person sitting at each, so we have to sit next to each other now, Horikita said quietly. "Okay, that's enough," Sensei said to quiet the class. "Irina, please have a seat." She then went over to one of the empty desks. Everybody expected her to sit down, but to everyone's surprise, she grabbed the seat and put it right in between Horikita and I. She really gets jealous easily, I thought. "Irina, would you mind please sitting at a desk with only one person?" Sensei said. Everyone was glaring daggers at me and Horikita, especially the perverted duo. "In that case then Horikita can move," she said happily with a grin. "Huh," everyone said. "You know what, fine, you can sit in between them. Just don't cause any more issues," Sensei said. With that, Irina took her seat and didn't even bother listening to what the teacher was saying. All she did was look at me and poke me in the arm all class, and then finally lunch arrived. "Hey Issei, what do you want to eat?" Irina asked while we made our way down to the cafeteria. "I don't know yet," I responded. Irina was thinking about what she wanted when we ran into Riaz and the rest of her peerage. "Oh hi Issei," Akino called out. "TCH, more devils," Irina spat quietly. I waved to them and started making my way to the lunch line with Irina behind me, but then Riaz called out to me. "I know I said that you may not be as dumb as you look, but that does not mean that you can just ignore us like that." And with that, she dug her own grave. Irina was already on edge enough having Sona around, and now you bring up the time you called me dumb. Irina then made her move. "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Irina Shidu. What's your name?" "Oh, you must be new here. I'm Riaz Gremory. Nice to meet you," Riaz said with a grin. "I've heard about you from Issei quite a lot actually," Irina said with a grin of her own. Then Riaz started blushing. What did he say about me?" "You realize I'm right here." I thought. What he said was a secret, and with that Irina came back to me laughing. "Why, that insolent little brat," Riaz yelled under her breath. "Riaz, she is new to the school. Not everybody knows you are the head of the Gremory clan," Akino said, clearly disappointed with how she responded. "I know, but still, why is she so close to Issei?" Riaz wondered aloud. Irina and I grabbed our food and sat down at a table. A few moments later the occult research clubs joined us. "Mind if we sit with you?" Riaz asked. I shook my head while continuing eating. Irina was clearly not happy about it, but she let it slide. We ate in silence for a while before Akino spoke up. "So how do you know Issei, Irina?" Since Irina was really heated up right now, I answered for her. "We're childhood friends." To this, Riaz and Akino's eyes lit up with surprise and jealousy. "So you guys go way back, huh?" Akino said, slightly disturbed. "Yeah, but we haven't really seen each other in a while, so we have only been catching up," I lied. To this, both Riaz and Akino seemed to have calmed down, but in return, I seemed to make Irina even madder. "Play it cool right now. I can't afford to lose Akino just yet," I whispered into Irina's ear. Irina didn't respond, but she understood, so she didn't do anything else. With that, lunch ended and we all went back to class. The second half of the day proceeded just like the first, with Irina only bothering me and not paying attention at all. That's when Irina and I both headed down to the Occult Research Club to actually introduce everyone. When we arrived, Sona and Tsubaki were there with Ikanos and Zenobia. Riaz seemed shocked to see Irina again, but kept herself under control. We all sat down on the couches except for Riaz, who sat in a chair behind a desk, and Akino, who was standing behind her. "We of the church have come here in order to retrieve the stolen Excalibur fragments. All we ask for is that you do not interfere with this mission at all," Zenobia said sternly. "With the exception of Issei," Irina chimed in. "Why am I involved in this?" I thought. "What does Issei have to do with this though?" Sona asked. "Well, even if he is a devil, he is also the Red Dragon Emperor, and we need all of the help that we can get, so will you do it for us? Pretty please," Irina pleaded. "No," I responded. Irina scoffed at this, but then said something else. "I'll owe you a favor if you help us out." "Deal," I said without hesitation. Even though Irina and I were on the same team, that didn't mean we had the same goals, so if one of us owed the other a favor, then they would have to do it over their own mission at the current time. "Wait, this is my territory. If I want to intervene, then I can," Riaz said, trying to show her authority. Irina let out a small laugh and added, "You just don't get it, do you? If you help out with this, you will basically be starting the next holy war. I can't believe you can't even see that. Some leader you are." After she said that, Riaz was visibly angry and started to let her aura flare. But to her surprise, Akino stood in front of her. "Riaz, put down your aura. Are you seriously siding with them? Don't forget I'm your master," she yelled out. "Perfect, now just a little more," Irina thought. I glanced over at Irina, who had a scary grin on her face. She was one scary person. We don't want to jumpstart the next war by attacking members of the church, and don't forget, you represent Surzech as well, so don't make rash decisions, Aquino yelled back. How about we have a duel then? Kiba said while getting in between them. Damn you pretty boy, Irina thought. I'm fine with that. If you win then we won't interfere, but if I win then the brat over there and to apologize and we can do whatever we want, Rias said. At this point, both Aquino and Kaneko were eyeing Rias with disappointment. Their normally so-called nice master was now yelling and throwing a tantrum after being insulted instead of handling it like an adult. Kiba, however, had a different look in his eyes, one of pure hatred, while eyeing the clothed sword on the back of Zenobia. I am fine with it, Zenobia said, and with that, we made our way outside the old school building. I will be the referee of this game, and I will also have a barrier around us to feel free to let loose, just don't get too out of hand. To that, both Kiba and Zenobia nodded. 3, 2, 1, go, Sona yelled out. Zenobia had her sword unclothed. It was a long and wide silver sword with black and red silver markings in the middle. Kiba summoned a sword out of thin air that looked to be made of ice. Oi, Drag, what sacred gear is that? I asked. If I had to guess, it would probably be Sword Birth, their ability to make any sword. Okay, thank you, I said before going back to the fight. They were both just standing there before Kiba finally made his move. Ahhhh, he yelled while charging at Zenvoya super quickly. But something wasn't right. Although Kiba was going super fast, he was going faster than when he was training with me before the battle with Riser. He needs to calm down or else he'll lose fairly quickly, I thought. Zenobia bet his sword head on and destroyed the sword. TCH, Kiba said before making a sword out of fire and ice. I will never forgive the Excalibur, he said before charging at Zenobia. How's it the sword's fault? I wondered, but then figured that he needed to blame something, so he might as well blame the sword. This time Zenobia didn't meet the sword head on and dodged it. She then threw off her robe and revealed a black latex suit that connected tightly to her body, so continued to dodge Kiba's attacks until he finally backed off for a second. Okay, my turn to attack, Zenobia said with a grin. With that, she charged at Kiba, but instead of hitting him or his sword, she hit the ground. Then there was a massive earthquake or something that felt like one. The ground where the sword hit was now a giant crater with Kiba in the middle of it. Is that enough? I think it's obvious who will win, Zenobia said. It's not over yet, Kiba yelled while summoning a sword just as big as Zenobia's sword and charged at him. Fool, she said, no matter what sword you use, it's no match for my Excalibur of Destruction, not to mention you threw away the one advantage you had, which was your speed. With that, using the back of her sword, she went behind Kiba and before he could react knocked him out using the back of her sword. I looked over at Rias, who looked completely devastated at her defeat. Fine, we won't interfere with whatever you're doing, she said defeatedly. Irina was taking in the sight of Rias's face as she lost when it seems like she came up with an idea. She turned to me with a wicked grin on her face. Hey Issei, we should have a fight too, we haven't fought each other since we were younger. To that everyone looked over at me to see what my response would be. No, I have no desire to fight you, I responded. Don't tell me, you're scared to fight me. Dumbass, I thought. Of course, you not only fight with an Excalibur but you also have been fighting way more than I have, there's no way I would win. I lied. In truth, I could probably beat her fairly easily with or without the Excalibur. I just don't want other people to be watching. Irina looked even more devastated than Rias at me turning her down for a fight. Well, let's not get too hateful. Ikano spoke up with her usual grin. Both parties were being a little hasty, so let's just pretend that those instances never happened, okay? Rias didn't say anything but looked angry. No one from her peerage said anything though, since they were all worried about Kiba. Then Sona took down the barrier and came to us with Tsubaki behind her. I know about the terms of your agreement, but if by any chance Kakabeel takes direct action, we will have no choice but to interfere, Sona said. That's fine. If he attacks us directly, then you can help out. If not, then stay out, Zenobia said. Wait, Kiba, where are you going? Aquino asked as Kiba finally woke up. He started leaving. I need to be alone for right now, just let me be, Kiba responded. Kiba, get back here right now, you are my knight and you have to stay by my side, Rias yelled. Rias, I don't know what's gotten into you lately, but you need to relax, Kiba said coldly. Rias flared in anger before yelling, if you leave I'll report you as a stray. Kiba, Aquino, and Kaneko all froze at what she said. Wait, sorry, I didn't mean that, she said defeated. No, it's fine, you're really just like all the other devils, right? You only see us as tools, Kiba said before leaving. Rias then broke down crying and ran away. I looked over at Irina only to see her with the most twisted looked grin ever at watching the sight of Rias's peerage fall apart. That's what you get for insulting Issei, you spoiled brat. Don't make the same mistake again, Irina thought. Sona and Tsubaki chased after her while Aquino and Kaneko were still stunned by what Rias had said to Kiba. Stay here, and don't do anything dumb, I said while giving her a cold glare. What do you mean? You were aiming for doing this the whole time, correct? Irina responded. I didn't respond, and then I headed toward Aquino and Kaneko. At this point Aquino started breaking into tears. Issei, what should we do? She asked while tears streamed down her face. Of course, when people have served their whole life they have a harder time making decisions on their own, so what I have to do now is to become their new king, I thought. I think you should let her be for right now, wait and see what she has to say later. If she apologizes sincerely to you guys, you should forgive her. If she doesn't, then you need to show that you're not okay with it. Just don't forget, no matter what happens, I'll be on your side. After all, we are friends, right? I said. To this, Kaneko started to tear up a little bit as well. Thank you, Issei, Akino said. Thank you, Kaneko added. After that, I let them be and started going home with Irina. I know what I did was pretty messed up, but what you did could be considered worse. Irina started. I only finished up what you have started, but you are basically on par, if not greater than Ria's in both of their minds. I guess you are right, I replied. I did say that I thought of them as friends, but in reality, they were only really useful for getting control of Rias. The only people I truly considered my friends are Irina and Sona. We finally made our way back home when Irina started speaking as we entered the house. Tomorrow we will start looking for the Excaliburs, just so you know. I have school, so you're going to have to wait until I'm done with that. I still can't believe you actually are going to school, she said with a small laugh. I didn't respond though as I laid down in bed with Irina next to me. Rias, it's already over for you. Remember that Irina and I are not the only predators. There are more than you haven't even realized, I thought before going to bed. I chased after Rias with Tsubaki behind me as we tried to catch up to her. Rias, wait up, I cried out. Rias finally stopped and collapsed on her knees with tears strolling down her face. What should I do? She asked, tear-eyed. I sat down next to her and let her cry her heart out until she finally stopped while Tsubaki still stood. Sona, I really messed up, didn't I? Rias said sadly. Of course, but remember that you are still their king, I replied. What do you mean? Rias asked. Whenever Rias needed advice, she always asked me, since even when they were younger I was always the smarter one. What I'm saying right now is that you need to still stay strong. Right now your servants are clearly very upset with you, but you need to stay strong and apologize. If you start apologizing like crazy or start breaking down in tears, you are going to lose everything, since they'll think that you are too weak-willed to do anything. You need to remind them that you are a strong leader, I said. After a while of thinking, Rias considered it but finally reached a conclusion. You're right, Sona. I can't be crying to them every time I mess up. I'll apologize, but I won't lose my cool. I'll talk to them tomorrow about it. With that, she got up and flashed me a grin. Thank you. She then took off. After that, Tsubaki and I sat there in silence until I finally broke the silence. How did he know? I said with a slight laugh. Sona, wake up, Issei called out. I checked the time. It was currently 2:36 in the morning. I looked back at him, who had Irina laying right on top of him. Tomorrow there is going to be a scene where Rias runs away crying after a duel. Most likely it will be a duel between Irina and I, but in case someone else starts it, that's how it will be. When she runs away, I need you to follow her and tell her to stay strong as the president. Make sure you still tell her to apologize, but make sure that she remains how she has been lately. He whispered. What are you talking about? Why would any of that happen? I responded. Just trust me. I need you to tell this to your queen as well, so she knows what's going on. At this, I smiled. So this is your newest scheme you have going, huh? I still don't know exactly what he was after, but I still went with it anyway. Sure, I responded, but in return, you owe me something. Okay. Fine, Issei responded back quietly. After that, we both went back to sleep, and the next morning I told Tsubaki about it at school. He truly is a monster, Tsubaki added in. But just what does he want? It sounds to me that he just wanted me to give her good advice, but knowing him, that can't be the case, I wondered aloud. No point thinking about it now. I guess we'll just have to see what the future holds, Tsubaki said. I guess we will, I said with a grin. When I woke up the next morning, I was once again cramped in my own bed thanks to Irina and Sona. I got up though and shook Sona awake, after which we had breakfast and went to school. Well, I'll see you later, Issei, Sona said. After she said that, I made my way to our own class and sat next to Horikita. Is Irina going to be joining us again today? She asked dreadfully. No, I replied. The rest of school went by without any interruptions, and since school ended, it was time to hunt the exorcist. As I was leaving back to my house, a thought came to my mind. I wonder if Rias's peerage has fallen apart yet. It was now after school, and everyone except Kiba was in the room with me. Akino and Kaneko were barely speaking and looked very tense. Well, here goes nothing, I thought. Akino and Kaneko, please listen to me. Akino and Kaneko promptly turned their head to look at me. Right before I started continuing, I remembered what Sona said to me the other day, to stay a strong leader while apologizing. I took a deep breath and continued. I know that we are worried about Kiba, and I'm sorry about what I said. With that being said though, we will wait for him to return on his own. He is my cute servant after all. I expected to see a look of relief on their faces, but instead, I got one of pure disgust. Why are they looking at me like that? I thought. Rias, I truly am very disappointed in how you have been lately. I don't know what's gotten into you, but you need to really calm down. Akino said. Kiba's our friend and he could be dying right now. Do you seriously want us to leave him to die? Kaneko added in. I was speechless now that they had worded it that way. It seemed a lot worse than it was. I am sorry if that was the impression that you got of what I said. I want Kiba to solve his issues and then be able to come back to us. However, I need to not make any rash decisions and choose what is right for all of us. Then their look of disgust turned into one of pure hatred. I can't believe you, Rias, Akino yelled as she left the room. Issei was right about what he said, Kaneko said as she left. After they left, I sat at my chair, my head in my hands. What Issei said. Does that mean he means he told them this would happen? But then there's what Sona told me. Wait, did they both set me up? As the thought was in my head, The more and more it made sense. But why? I never did anything to them. Why do I deserve this? I said while I started crying. Just then though a Gremory crest had opened up in the middle of the room, and out of it came my older brother Serzech and his queen Grafia. "Oh, Riaz, what's wrong?" he said while he came rushing up to me. I told him everything that had just happened and what my suspicion was. "You think Sona would really do that?" Serzech wondered, but he decided to take my side still since I was his sister. "All right, I'll call everyone over so we can clear this mess up. Grafia, please get Issei and Sona. I will get Akino and Kaneko." With that, everybody left with me still crying in my hands. Zenobia, Irina, Ikanos, and I were talking about what we were going to do to solve this issue. "So, do you know if anyone is working with Kakabil?" I asked. "It's not confirmed yet, however there is suspicion that he is working with a stray priest named Fried Selzen," Ikanos responded. "So it was that guy from the church that the other club members fought," I thought. "Well, I think then we should start by dragging him out and then interrogating him," I said. "That works," Irina started. "I've heard that he has been killing priests lately, so we could dress up like people of the church to draw him out." With that, we all agreed on it. Ikanos quickly gave me some leftover church gear that wouldn't harm me by wearing it, and we took to the abandoned part of town where Irina said most attacks are happening. As we started walking for a while, we felt a very strong presence in the dark alleyway. It was so dark that we couldn't see who it was. "That was fast," Irina said, bringing out her Excalibur Mimic. Excalibur Mimic was a sword that changed into whatever form the wielder wanted, so it was useful for Irina, who could adapt fairly quickly to things. "Wait, this is Grafia's presence," I thought. "Irina, stop," I said. Irina promptly stopped but waited for an explanation. Grafia was then fully out of the dark and was walking over to us. "Issei, please come with me," Grafia said. "Sorry, but we're kind of busy at the moment. Can this wait until later?" Zenobia asked. "Serzech ordered me that I summon you, so I'm afraid you cannot postpone this," Grafia replied. Serzech already found out. That was fast, I thought. "All right, well, everyone, I'll take tomorrow off school so we can continue looking," I said. As soon as we were about to leave, however, we heard a loud yell come from the distance. Without hesitation, all the church girls quickly made their way to where the screaming was, which left Grafia and I alone. "So what are you guys doing out here exactly?" Grafia asked. "I'm trying to find Kiba and they're trying to find the missing Excalibur parts," I replied. What I just said was a halfly. The only reason I'm here is to help Irina out in exchange for a favor. But since I need all the appeal I can get right now, this makes me look better for what's about to come up. Grafia let out a sigh and flew up to follow the church girls, to which I followed. When we arrived, we found Kiba fighting Fried with Irina and the two other church girls to join Kiba to take down Fried. "Shit, well this doesn't look good," Fried yelled out. "Three members of the church and a piece of devil shit. I must admit I don't like my chances." Without hesitation, Irina started to attack when Kiba told her to stop. "This is my fight, stay out of it." "What are you talking about? You were clearly just losing a second ago," Irina responded. However, that's when Kiba noticed Grafia. "Why are you here, Grafia?" he asked. "Ria said that Issei and Sona set her up so that all of her peerage would start hating her," Grafia responded. "What?" he yelled with a bit of confusion. "Why would they have done something like that? Or having the trail to see if what she said was true in the first place?" Fried was now getting annoyed that he was being ignored but didn't do anything since he knew he didn't stand a chance against Grafia. "Well, since you have other problems, this is where I say good boy," Fried said with a smirk. "Hey, wait," Irina yelled. But as soon as she said that, he disappeared after throwing a flash grenade at everybody. "Godding damn it," she muttered under her breath. "So much for being from the church," I thought. "Well, now that those issues are settled, let's go to the Occult Research Club room. Sona is already there," Grafia said. "Okay, you girls just go home for right now," I said emotionlessly to the church trio. They gave a nod and Grafia teleported Kiba and I to the Occult Research Club room. As soon as we arrived, we immediately realized how tense the air was around everybody. Serzech was sitting next to Grafia on a couch, and across from them sat Sona and Tsubaki. Kaneko and Akino were behind Riaz, although they didn't seem like they were enjoying it too much. However, Riaz was the first one to speak up when she saw Kiba. "Kiba, you're okay," Riaz said happily. However, Kiba didn't respond and sent her back a forced smile and stood next to Kaneko and Akino. "All right, now that we all are here, let's begin," Serzech said. I took a seat next to Sona and Grafia stood behind us. "Issei, Sona, you both are being accused of forcing Riaz's peerage to start falling apart," Serzech continued. Akino, Kiba, and Kaneko's faces jerked when they heard that, clearly upset, but also wanting to learn more. "Okay, so can you explain then what happened?" Sona asked calmly. "Well, according to Riaz, Sona told her to keep being a strong leader without being weak-willed, and Issei told Akino and Kaneko to only accept her apology if she does the opposite," Serzech said. "For my part, I can attest to having told Riaz that. However, you make it sound like I was forcing her to say those things when I only gave advice," Sona replied. Serzech then looked at me, prompting an explanation. "I only told Akino and Kaneko to accept her apology if they felt that it was truly sincere. I did tell them also, though, to not let Riaz boss them around, and that if her apology didn't seem sincere, then to show that they weren't okay with it." Riaz looked very angry while Serzech found himself in a conflicted situation. "I want to believe my sister, but there's no actual proof that what these two said are connected to each other aside from being part of the same peerage," Serzech thought. Surzech then looked at Akino, wanting to attest to whether what he said was true or not. What he said was true, I swear by it, Akino said. The room was then silent for a while when Ria spoke up. Kiba, why exactly were you with Issei? She asked. Kiba didn't exactly know why we were there either, so he just said I don't know. That was when Grafia spoke up. Issei was looking for Kiba. This made Riaz and Surzech look shocked. I guess then Riaz just did make a mistake by herself, Surzech thought. Well, I suppose then, Surzech started but was then interrupted when a girl with black hair and twin tails slammed open the door wearing a magical girl outfit. I didn't know who that was, so I looked at Sona, who looked mortified. Hey, the girl started, why is my little cute Sona being held in court? Well, Serafal, we will explain that to you in a minute if you can just sit down, Surzech said. Wait, so this is Sona's older sister. I thought to myself before looking at Sona again. This time Sona realized that I was looking at her and felt embarrassed to her very core. Serafal didn't say anything but made her way over to the couch we were on. When she made her way over, she realized that she couldn't sit next to Sona and looked at me with eyes that said move. I was about to move when Sona spoke up. You can sit next to him. He's important in this, so he can sit next to me. This caused Serafal's eyes to go wide. Never before had Sona ever openly told her no. She may complain about things, but she never actually told her no. You're so mean. She then started crying. Is he the boy's house you moved into? I haven't seen you in forever because of him. The room went silent after that. You joking? We were about to win and you just had to say that? I thought. You mean they're living together? Surzech asked. Yay, Serafal responded as she calmed down. Sona looked pissed at what her sister had done, since now we were in a more troublesome position. The best thing for us now is a tie, I thought. Ria said aloud. So you guys did set me up. You just discussed it at Issei's house. Like I said before, we never spoke about it before and there's no proof that we even did, Sona replied. Serafal then grudgingly sat next to me and listened in while she connected the dots about what was happening. After a while of them going back and forth, I finally spoke up. Well, I only gave them the advice in the first place since Riaz told Kiba that if he were to run away he'd report her as a stray. I couldn't have known that would have happened, I said, to the surprise of Surzech. What are you talking about? Riaz yelled. We all know you are super cunning, so it would make sense. While it is true that I am smart and cunning, that does not give me the power to see into the future, unfortunately, I replied. Then the room was filled with silence until Surzech spoke up. Well, since there is a possibility that both sides are lying, I will declare that this is a tie. What, why? You're supposed to be on my side, Riaz started yelling. To which Surzech gave her a cold glare and said, Riaz, while you are my sister and I care for you greatly, I cannot foul other households on something that we have no evidence on. Yea, Serafal spoke up, and if by any chance you did blame Sona for this, I would take you all on right here. Everyone looked at her while Sona looked away with embarrassment. Well, I guess that's all. Dismissed, Surzech said. I started leaving the room with Sona to walk home. As we were in front of our house, another magic circle popped up and out of it came Grafia. May I talk to you both for a moment? She asked. I nodded and we went upstairs into my room only to find Irina going through all of my stuff. Ooh, hey, you're back already, Issei, she said nervously. I sighed and prompted her to get out when Grafia spoke up. Actually, it would be beneficial for you to stay here as well. With that, Grafia sat down in my chair at my desk while the three of us sat down on my bed. First of all, allow me to congratulate you on winning the trial, she said. She knows, I said to myself. The room then went silent for a minute until Grafia spoke up. While it was a tie, you guys still won because you accomplished your objective, right, Issei? Irina yelled. So you finally broke it, huh? Sona figured that they were in massive trouble since they had been found out. Grafia, realizing this, spoke up. I will not tell Surzech about this, so you don't have to worry, Grafia said. Wait, why? Sona asked. Grafia then flashed a small smirk and looked at me. Because Issei has interested me. Sona's face blushed a little bit, but she mostly kept herself together. Irina, on the other hand, was about to pull out her Excalibur before we had to stop her. So why exactly? Irina asked angrily. Well, it's not every day you meet someone as smart and cunning as Issei. He will most definitely be one of the strongest beings ever, Grafia added with the same smirk. So it's not one of romantic interest. Irina started. Oh, I get it now, you want to worship him. Don't worry, I'll let you join me, she said with a laugh. Maybe I do, but who knows, she replied back, making Irina go back to her angry mode. So why did you want to talk to us? I asked. Now that you have succeeded in Riaz's peerage falling apart, what do you plan to do? Grafia asked with curiosity. That right. Even though we had tied with the trail, I had still succeeded in having Riaz's peerage fall apart. I did so by having the trail drag on and on so they can see how Riaz truly is when she is in a pinch. I was able to confirm this by checking their reactions at the end of the trial. I don't know, I replied. Grafia could obviously tell that I was lying but did not say anything about it. Well, I'm going to be leaving now, Issei, take care, she said and disappeared. Then both Irina and Sona looked at me. I knew why they were, but I changed the topic. Hey Sona, what would happen if we were to mix holy and devil powers? To this, Sona seemed a bit confused why I would be asking such a thing, but answered anyway. Well, you would create an explosion, the size of which would vary based on how much power you put in, but it could be deadly no matter what. So don't try it. Irina then flashed me a grin and I nodded back at her. Well, we should probably take our bath now. Sona, why don't you go first this time? Issei and I went first the last few times, Irina said with a smile. With that, Sona left and Irina faced me with a devilish smile on her face. Now you ready for it? We then went into our basement, which didn't have many things, but just in case there was an explosion, many things wouldn't be destroyed. So why do you want to do something like this? Irina asked. There's something that has been bothering me for a while. I started ever since I got my boosted gear. People have told me how strong it was and that it was a longinus, which are errors in the sacred gear system made by God. So I thought, why hasn't he fixed this issue? After all, the longinus were called sacred gears that could kill gods, I replied. So you mean to tell me that you think God is incapable of fighting or dead? Asked Irina. No, I assume he is dead. After all, the angel numbers are just as low as the demons, and they also seem to have a hard time making pureed angels from what I've heard as well, I said. I thought Irina wouldn't take too well from what I said, figuring that her family was from the church. However, I was wrong. Well, if that's what you think, you're probably right. I mean, you are the smartest being in existence, she said. She has quite high hopes for someone like me. We haven't even met the strongest in the world of angels and devils, and you're calling me the smartest, I thought. Well, let's do this, Irina said as she brought out Excalibur Mimic. I then focused my energy on the blade and slowly started pushing it in the blade, but to my surprise, instead of blowing up, it just lingered there, not per se mixing but not going away either. So it didn't blow up, which most likely means that I was right, I figured. After all, directly mixing holy and devil energy would cause an explosion since they are opposing energies. However, if you were to somehow find a way to indirectly mix them, like placing them both into an object, you could get your answer there. By an explosion not happening, this means I was right. God was dead, so the fact that the two energies didn't blow up when they met the sword means that God can't maintain the balance between the forces. Irina had a smile on her face as she looked at me. I guess you are the smartest. I then got up and started heading upstairs with Irina. Irina, you don't have to pretend to be happy about this, you know, I said emotionlessly. Irina didn't say anything right away and kept walking, but she soon said in a somewhat sad voice, well, since it's already happened, there's nothing we can do about it. We then waited for Sona to finish her bath and then took out turns taking our own. Then finally went to bed. Or so I thought, because soon after someone started ringing our doorbell like crazy. Irina got up and was very angry since someone interrupted her cuddle time with me. When she opened the door, she immediately called my name, and Sona and I both rushed there only to find a crying Serafal. As Sona, I looked all over for you forever. You know, I can't believe you just decided to leave our house like that. She then started bawling her eyes out while Sona just looked away in embarrassment. We all just stood there waiting for her to stop, and when she finally did, she spoke up again in her usual bubbly voice. So Sona, are you ready to come back home yet? I told you in the letter I'm living here now, so please leave, she said, embarrassed. But that's not a problem, she started to then, but her hand up in the sky summoning a magic circle while a whole bunch of luggage coming out. If you're living here, I'm living here too, she then invited herself in. We don't have enough rooms for you to stay here, I said. That's fine, I'll just share a room with Sona, she said happily. Shit, if she finds out that Sona's sleeping in my room. So what room is she in, Issei? Serafal asked. As she asked that question, Zenovia and Ikanos came down out of their rooms to see what all the noise was. Oh, Sona sleeps in Issei's room, Zenovia said bluntly. Then Serafal turned her head slowly at me. Serafal was definitely a big yander toward anyone who she deemed unworthy to be super close to Sona. Luckily for me though, I had my own yander who appeared in front of me with Excalibur Mimic. The two had a stare down for a bit before Ikanos spoke up. While it is true Sona sleeps in Issei's room, Issei actually sleeps on the couch down here, Ikanos lied. Starfall turned toward me for confirmation, to which I nodded too without the slightest bit of emotion on my face. Well, I guess that's okay, Sona and I can sleep together then, Serafal said cheerfully. From that day forward, Serafal decided that she would start living in the house as well, but there was something that I still wondered. Wait, don't you want to know why the people of the church are here? I asked. No, I don't really care so long as they're not hurting Sona. She then marched her way upstairs after putting all of her luggage back into her magic circle. I was watching TV until I was sure everyone was asleep, to which I went up to my room to ask Serafal something. Since they didn't want to wake Sona, I decided to focus a little bit off killing intent at Serafal, which Drake had recently taught me. Serafal woke up instantly and realized that it was me sending it and got out of bed. Follow me, I whispered coldly, much to the surprise of Serafal, who took me for a dumb aloof kid. We finally made it to the basement and I finally spoke up. Can you promise me you will answer this next question honestly? I asked coldly. Serafal's aura toward me shifted to a more serious manner once she heard how I was talking. Depends. Then see if you can answer this. Is God dead? I asked coldly while I moved closer to her face and stared at her directly in the eyes. She was a little bit smaller than me, but she still met my gaze and seemed surprised but quickly collected herself. How did you find that out? She asked. So he really is. I started. Well, that was all. You can go back upstairs now. Answer me as well, she said coldly. Does it matter how I found out? All that matters is that I know, I replied, still looking at her in the eyes. Then for some reason, she started to blush a little bit before finally, she stopped meeting my gaze. I guess not, but promise me this, you will not tell anyone about this, understood? She said in a somewhat stressed out voice. Well, Irina already knows since she helped me with finding out, I said. Serafal sighed at that before looking at me again. Well, just don't go around telling people, okay? Plus the fact that you found that out means that you truly are a genius like Sona says. How much does she talk about me to other people? I wondered. I then started heading upstairs with her following. You know, Issei, you can sleep in your room if you'd like, Serafal said with a mischievous grin. What's with the change of heart? I asked. I know you, Irina and Sona have been sleeping in the same room. It was obvious from their reactions, but you never showed any emotion at all, so I couldn't tell from you. I looked back at her, then turned forward again. Fine, the couch on is uncomfortable anyway. Although I couldn't see it, this did but a small grin on her face. I finally made it upstairs and was sleeping in my own room, or was trying to anyway. Sona was still sleeping, but I was being sandwiched between the sleeping sisters. For once I wasn't being squished by people when I woke up. Serafal was on one side of the bed and Sona was on the other. I then got up and went downstairs to get some breakfast. Today was sad, so I planned on trying to find other ways to lure Cockabeel out. From the info we had, it was clear he wants to start another war, so I guess then I could use Serafal to bait him out, but then the church doesn't want the demons involved in this, I thought. I quickly ate my breakfast and went outside on a walk when I ran into Akino. Oh, hi there, Issei, she said in a somewhat sad voice. Oh, hi Akino, I replied back. Mind if I walk with you, she asked. Not at all, I said. We then walked in awkward silence until she finally spoke up. Issei, with what happened with Rias, did you guys really set her up? I shook my head and answered, I have no reason for wanting to destroy your friendship. I just told you what I honestly believe you should have done, I said. Then Akino went in front of me and turned around. I was just double-checking. I know you wouldn't do something like that, Issei, she said with a large smile. I looked at her for a while before I continued walking. We walked in silence for a while until Akino asked me something again. Actually, the reason why I was walking in the first place was to meet up with you. She started. I would like you to come to my house right now if that's okay. Sure, I replied. It's not like I had anything better to do, so I just went with it. We then walked for around 10 minutes and we were at a shrine, which surprised me since devils living at shrines didn't seem very logical. Don't worry, I have permission to live here, Akino said. We then made our way into the house and sat down on a mat with a table in front of us. So why am I here? I asked bluntly. Someone would like to meet you, Akino replied. Almost on cue, a magic circle glowing gold appeared in the air and an angel came down out of it. Hello, you must be Issei Hayato. Yes, the angel said nicely. Yes, I replied. Nice to meet you. I am Michiel, one of the great seraphs of heaven. He started. As for why I have called you here, I have a gift for you, he said. We just met though, isn't it too soon for a gift? Much less from a seraph, I said, eyeing him suspiciously. Soon there will be a meeting held here for a global peace conference between the three factions. Surely you have noticed the devils coming around to check the place out. So does that mean you guys will be able to help out with the Cockabeel situation? I asked. I do not know. For me, I will not be able to assist you as I have many matters in heaven to deal with currently. I imagine the same will be true with the demon kings and leaders of the Grigori, since we all have to be ready for the leaders' summit. Hopefully, we will be able to send some assistance, but not us directly, Michiel said sorrowfully. I see, I said. Well, this may help you with your fight with Cockabeel, Michiel said as he summoned a sword that immediately woke Dreg up. Be careful, Issei, that sword is very dangerous to us, Dreg said internally. This sword is a Scallan, a dragon slayer sword, Michiel said while handing it to me. That's why it feels so dangerous, I thought. What's unique about this sword though is that it can fuse with your sacred gear, Michiel said. Dreg, can you do it? I asked Dreg. Let me try, Dreg said. And just like that, my sacred gear and a Scallan combined, and now the sword was coming out of the sacred gear. Thank you very much, I said emotionlessly. No problem, my child, Michiel said with a grin. Well, I am afraid I will have to leave now. I wish you the best of luck, and with that, he disappeared into another gold magic circle. I then turned to look at Akino, who seemed sad about something. What's wrong? I asked. Oh no, she started, but then she cut herself off, took a deep breath, and started talking. I know that you had me come to terms with the fact that I'm a fallen angel, but I still don't feel right using it. Well, if that's the case, then don't use it, I said. But didn't you want me to come to terms with it? She asked. Yes, for that battle only. I understand your past, however, it's up to you to accept yourself. Others can't do it for you, I replied. Akino then let out a small blush with a grin on her face. I see, she said happily. With that, I took my leave after saying goodbye to Akino and started walking home. I pulled out my phone and realized that I had missed 4 calls from Sona and tried to call back only for her not to pick up. I quickly summoned a teleportation circle and went home, since I could tell that this was not the time to be enjoying a walk. When I arrived home, I saw Sona and all of the church girls except Irina looking super stressed out. Issei, you're back good, Sona said. Issei, where were you? Irina said as she walked up to me. I was at Akino's house, I said. You were where? Irina said while looking me dead in the eyes. Relax, I didn't do anything. I did get a Dragon Slayer sword though, I said as I brought it out of my gauntlet. Whoa, that is a Scallan, Zenobia said. It's also a holy sword Ikenos added on. I guess that's another reason I felt that this was so dangerous, I thought. Anyway, what's going on? I asked. Cockabeel sent a declaration of war out against the devils and angels. However, Azazel said that Cockabeel has gone rogue thanks to us all trying to make peace. In compensation for that, he will send the necessary reinforcements to help, Sona said nervously. I guess that means Serafal left then, I added. At first she refused, but then the other demon kings said they really needed her help with sorting out a lot of political issues in the underworld, Sona replied. I see, so when are we fighting him? I asked. Tomorrow, Sona said. Everyone went silent after that, not even Irina, who normally wouldn't care, didn't speak. Well, nothing we can do about it. Let's take it easy today so we will be ready for tomorrow, I said. I went to go make some lunch when I noticed we were out of food. I'm going to the store. Anyone want anything? I'll go with you actually. It's better to be together than alone, Sona said. I nodded and then Sona and I left. Obviously, Irina wanted to go instead, but the other church girls held her back. When we arrived at the supermarket, I started putting things inside the cart and Sona got things that she needed when I ran into Horikita again. Are you stalking me? She asked. No, why? I asked. Currently, Sona was still getting other things, so she wasn't here right now. Last time I was here I met you here and now I meet you again. How do you manage to always meet me here? She asked in a somewhat angry voice. I shrugged my shoulders. I don't know. She let out a sigh and started walking away when Sona came back with things. Here, Issei, let's have this for dinner tonight, she said while handing me curry. Horikita then turned around and looked at me. So you're dating the student council president? There wasn't a better excuse I could think of, so I just said yay. Hearing this made Sona immediately go red. Even though she knew I was lying, just hearing me say that we were dating was making her blush hard. So you're lying? Horikita started while looking at Sona's reaction. You know, I always thought there was something up with you, Issei. You used to be a kid that nobody realized or acknowledged, but then you suddenly became the second student council VP. Hearing that Sona spoke up, you heard the reason, though I'm assuming. Issei helped out a lot behind the scenes with things and helped us a lot with setting things up. You really think I believe that? Issei is someone who is perfectly average. There is no way he would do something like that. If I didn't know any better, I'd think that you were a closest pervert and blackmailed Sona into making you VP. Horikita said harshly. Whatever you may think, what I told you was the truth, Sona said. With that, Horikita turned around and started leaving. Damn him, I swear there's something with him. Ever since we met I can't stop thinking of him, and the way he suddenly became VP just like that. There has to be something more, Horikita thought as she was leaving. After that, we bought out items and went home and watched TV and chatted for a while. Alright, is it time for dinner? Irina asked. Yeah, I'm starving, Ikono said. Both of them started to make the curry, which smelled really good. After around 25 minutes we were all seated at the dinner table and started digging in. Even though everyone was laughing and having a good time, I could tell that they were all hiding what they were truly feeling, fear. After all, tomorrow they have to fight one of the fallen angel leaders. After we were all done eating, we all took our baths and went to bed. Irina was of course sleeping right on top of me again, and Sona was sleeping right next to me. Tomorrow will be an interesting day, I thought. As the next morning came, nobody was talking. We were all trying to think of the fight that was going to be happening later today. Sona, when and where is the fight going to be? Ikonos asked. He said he'll be fighting us at our school at midnight, Sona replied. No one spoke up again after that. It was already 12:00 and it would only be another 12 hours until the fight came. As the hours passed with us just killing time, it was finally time to head to the school. It was currently 1000 p.m. so we had 2 hours to prep with everyone. When we arrived at the school gate, Kiba was there to meet us. Please come with me, he said with a smile. We then followed him into the occult research club room. Rias didn't look happy to see us one bit, while Kaneko and Akino seemed happy, but they tried to hide it so Rias wouldn't be mad. The rest of the student council was already there and they all looked super nervous. Oh hi, Sona, Saji yelled as came running over. Hello Saji. Okay, now that we are here let's talk strategy, Sona replied. Saji was sad he had been shut down but listened up anyway since he didn't want to be the reason everyone died. I'm not working with you, Rias yelled. Please put your suspicions behind for right now. This is a matter of life and death, so bear with it, Sona snapped back. Rias was about to say something but Akino spoke first. Of course, she said. Rias didn't seem happy but she didn't try to interrupt again. The student council will hold a barrier to keep the humans safe that live around here safe. Rias's peerage and Issei will go in and fight Kakabil and his minions with the help of the church trio. Everyone agreed too that now it was just a matter of taking roles on what person would be fighting who, and Kiba was the first who spoke up. I'll take down that psycho priest and destroy his Excalibur, he said angrily. I thought he got over it. Guess not, I thought. We'll help with any other members of the church or other lackeys, Zenobia said, referring to her and Ikonos. And that means the rest of us will take care of Kakabil, Rias said. With that, the room was in silence. Everyone was tense after the trial, so it made sense. I walked over to Kiba and asked, Hey, Kiba, why do you hate Excalibur so much? They took everything away from me. He started when I was younger. I was a part of the Holy Sword Project, where they would test children to see if they were or could be compatible with Excalibur. And after countless months of being experimented on, they realized it was a bust, so they gassed everyone in the room. All of my friends had died and sacrificed themselves so that I could escape. That was when I found Rias and she saved me. Even though he was talking to me, it was so quiet that everyone else heard as well. Wait, the Holy Sword experiment. I heard the guy who ran it was Valper Galilei. He was excommunicated from the church soon after, Zenobia said. Valper Galilei, Kiba muttered under his breath. After that, it was back to silence. After 20 minutes from 12:00, we all started getting ready to go and we made our way to the back of the school where there was a big empty field. The student council members all were getting ready to put up the barrier while Sona walked over to me. Issei, she said quietly. Yes, please, promise me you'll be okay, she said while some tears started coming out. I looked at her side and put my hand on her head and said, "Trust me, if I try nobody can beat me." "You mean it?" she asked. "Of course," I said back. "I'm only trusting those words because it's from you. I would normally never trust someone who says that," she said with a small grin. With that, she took her leave and said, "Good luck, Issei," with a big smile. "Oh, so the student council president likes you," Kiba said. I looked at him and said maybe. We then waited until 12:00 and on cue, a giant magic circle appeared with a fallen angel coming out with 10 wings on his back. With him was Freed and some other church members I didn't know. "Valper," Kiba yelled as he immediately summoned a pitch-black sword. "Oh, I remember you. Valper started the survivor of my genius experiment, Kiba, if I remember correctly." When he said that, Kiba charged right at him only to be interrupted by Freed. Now don't be impatient," he said with a grin. Kiba clicked his tongue and backed up. "Thanks to you guys we can now make artificial Excalibur wielders. However, after my success, they banned me but still used my work to make artificial users," Valper yelled. "You bastard," Kiba yelled as Ikanos appeared with a holy sword that wasn't an Excalibur but still fairly strong, and Zenobia without her Excalibur. "Oh, since you are here you can have this back," Valper said as he threw something at Kiba. It looked to be a ball of sort with flying gold particles in it. "Those are your friends that we have collected." Kiba then broke out in tears when Irina came next to me. I remember I got something that looked similar to that when I joined the exorcist group of the church. I nodded and kept on watching only for Cockabeel to finally speak up. "I don't see any Demon King here or Seraph. Instead they send me these brats," he yelled. "At least the baby sister of Surzech is here, so maybe if I chop her head off and hang it on the school he'll make a move." Riaz flared her aura at that. "I'd like to see you try." Riaz, calm down and buy time. "Surzech will be here in an hour. That's the fastest he can be here," Aquino said. "Wait, why is he coming?" Riaz asked. "I asked him," Aquino responded. "Why?" Riaz yelled out. "Riaz," Aquino started with a yell, "this is a life or death situation. I know you don't like bothering your brother, but this has to happen." "Oh, so Surzech will be coming," Cockabeel said with an amused grin. "Damn, I figured that the assistants from the Grigori would be slow, but where are they?" I wondered. "Oh well, Valper, get started with the plan," Cockabeel yelled out. With that, a magic circle appeared that had nothing in it, just a bright magic circle. "With this, the whole town of Kua will be blown up in 10 minutes. Better hope your brother comes quick," he yelled out. Kiba then dashed toward the Valper again with Ikanos behind him with Zenobia chanting something, and then a giant golden sword came out of another dimension. WWHAT Valprild as Freed defended him from the two attackers. "I haven't made the serum for Durandal yet." "That's because I'm a natural user," she said with a grin. To this, Valper was surprised but kept his cool and kept working on the bomb that was going to blow up. "How can he keep up with us?" Kiba yelled as he and Ikanos jumped back. "That's because I have 3 Excaliburs and 1," Freed yelled out. Then Zenobia joined in the fight and it became a 3 versus 1. "Well, while I wait I'll let you play with this puppy," Cockabeel said as he summoned a chair to sit on in the air. Then 3 magic circles appeared and 3 dogs came out, each with 3 heads. "Cerberus, I thought he was sealed in hell," Riaz yelled. "I have my ways," Cockabeel replied with a smirk. "Everyone except Aquino and I focus on Cerberus. Aquino and I will handle Cockabeel," Riaz said. "No you won't," Irina said, walking over to Riaz with a grin. "Issei and I will handle it. You can go focus on the mutts over there." "What?" Riaz yelled. Aquino looked over at me to see what I had to say. Perfect, she will listen to me more than Riaz, I thought. "We'll take care of this, it'll be fine," I said emotionlessly. "Riaz, let's go," Aquino said. "What are you talking about? I am the king and my orders are what will do," Riaz snapped back. "You know how strong Issei is. If he says he can do it, then he can," Aquino yelled back. "Please take care of Cerberus," Kiba yelled from afar. "Issei, you go. We got this," Kaneko said with a thumbs up. Irina couldn't help but smile at what was going on as Riaz finally gave in and agreed fine with the rest of the occult research club was focusing on Cerberus. With that, it left me and Irina with Cockabeel. Cockabeel looked down on us while Irina summoned her Excalibur and I summoned my boosted gear. "Hopefully you haven't fallen off," Irina said with a smirk. "I could say the same for you. HAHAHAHAHAH, the Red Dragon Emperor and an Excalibur user. Very well, let us play." With that, the fight between us had begun. He instantly threw a light spear at me and Irina dodged it light. It was nothing. Then I immediately flew up to him, grabbed his arm and threw him to the ground. Irina then used her sword which started chasing him like a snake and I joined the barrage of strikes against him, but he kept dodging the attacks. I then summoned a water blade and sent it right at him, which he dodged, but then left Irina enough time to move in and kick him in the gut. Boostreg yelled. I quickly went in while his footing was off and got into a hand-to-hand fight, and we would continue to throw punches and block punches. I then kicked him square in the jaw after Irina then came in with her Excalibur to try and pierce him. He then flew into the air again with me in hot pursuit. He then summoned over 15 light spears and rained them down on me, which I all narrowly dodged, and I moved in and landed a much in the stomach. "Ahaha," he yelled out as we both went back to the floor. "It seems that you guys are no ordinary fighters. It seems that I will have to go all out." Right when he said that, he let out all of his aura while making all fighting elsewhere stop. "Issei, you should stop playing around, you know," Irina said while she looked at me. "I could say the same for you," I replied back. "Yeah, but I haven't seen you fight seriously in so long," she whined. "Boost, so you haven't been going all out either." "I must say I am having a great time," Cockabeel yelled out. With that, we changed one another. Irina was using her Excalibur to attack while I was using my hands and feet, which Cockabeel was now dodging easily. "If you don't give it your all, you're gonna regret that," he said with a smirk as he kicked me in the gut, sending me flying. "Issei," Irina yelled out, only for her to get the same treatment. "Dumbass, I thought we were taught that even if one of us goes down to keep fighting," I said as I got back up. "Well, I can't help it," she pouted. "You guys did say you weren't trying correct." "Then let me see your full power," he yelled. I let out a sigh and told Irina we are going to have to step our game up now. I know, she said. Dreg yelled. Irina then stretched out her arms and got into her serious battle stance with her sword. "This power, it's amazing," Cockabeel yelled out as he charged us again. This time though, thanks to the boosted gear, I was much faster than him and slammed my fist right into his face, sending him flying back. Irina then followed suit, her eyes wide open to see even the slightest movement from anywhere, and started to go fight him on an equal level. She swung her sword at him, which dodged with ease, but then as he was bringing his head back up, he got hit with a roundhouse kick to the side of the head, which sent him back a little bit. Irina then kept pushing him on, going back and forth with one another while I checked to see how everyone else was doing. Kiba's group was winning but still not doing well enough to be able to kill Valper before the bomb can go off, and Riaz's group was losing slightly, but they were holding their own thanks to Akino's holy magic. I used this time to send I water blade right at Valper's head while he wasn't looking, easily decapitating him. Fried yelled at the sight of Valper getting killed. But because of him getting distracted, that was all the time Kiba and his group needed as they all impaled Fried. "The bastards," he yelled as he died. Then they all went to Riaz's group to help out there. I turned my attention back to Irina and Cockabeel. "Ahhh," Irina yelled out while swinging her sword while also blocking spears of light. "Ahhh," Cockabeel screamed back while he was using a spear of light as a sword to try and stab her, but he also had to keep blocking her attacks as well. I was about to rush in when I felt an aura that made me stop. I looked up past the barrier to see nothing, but I could definitely sense something there. "Oh, you're good, Issei Hayaru," a female voice called out, which made Irina and Cockabeel back up a little bit as Irina came to my side panting heavily. "Thanks for helping out, you bastard," she said. "Well, I did kill Valper and stop the bomb," I said in my defense. Irina didn't really care though as she caught her breath. "Who are you? How dare you interrupt our fight?" Cockabeel yelled while also catching his breath. The being went past the barrier carefully so as not to break it and landed. It was a woman with long messy silver hair, the White Dragon Emperor. "Took long enough for you to show," I said. "Oh, how do you know I would show up?" she replied in a cool voice. "I didn't know you would show, but I knew that help would arrive," I replied. "Well, let's get this over with," she said while she shrugged her shoulders and turned around. Another dragon's voice called out. With that, she charged at Cockabeel, who was too fast for Cockabeel to follow, and kneed him straight in the gut, sending him flying in the air. Cockabeel let out his wings so he could fly and sent down tons of light spears. Volleys, dragon called as the spears of light's power got cut in half. "Damn you, White Dragon," Cockabeel yelled out. With the spears of light basically reduced to nothing, she went right behind him and ripped out one of his wings. "Ahhh," Cockabeel yelled out in pain. Volley then slammed him down to the ground with her fist that had such a powerful force behind it that Cockabeel passed out. "She's good," I thought. She then flew down to him and teleported him somewhere. "I just teleported him to Azazel, who is going to seal him away in hell," she said. I didn't say anything as I looked over at Riaz's group, who had won their fight thanks to Kiba and the other girls going in. "You know what they say, right?" she said as she turned around. "Seriously, right here," I thought. "Yay, the Red Dragon Emperor and the White Dragon Emperor are bound to fight forever by fate," I responded. "Normally I would do this another time if you looked at the girl next to you, but since you look to be in tip-top shape, let's have a go, shall we?" she said while her one fist met her palm. "Issei," Irina said with her breath regained. "I'll fight with you, okay?" she said while getting into her battle stance. "No, Irina, this time I will most definitely have to go 100% for this fight. Just watch and take a break. You were fighting Cockabeel head-to-head, so I'm proud of you," I said as I put my hand on her head. She had cuts and bruises all over her body, so she definitely needed a break. "Yay, I like how you said that you would go 100% before and didn't even enter the zone. That's how I can tell that you didn't go 100%, she said with a blush and started walking away. Even though he was in his balance breaker mode, he still instigated physical contact with me. Could this mean I'm gonna have so much with him fun later? Irina thought with a wide smirk on her face. "What's this zone you were talking about?" Volley asked. "You're about to find out," I replied. "Are you ready to go?" Volley asked eagerly. Riaz, I yelled. "What?" she yelled back. "Help Sona hold this barrier. This will shatter very easily since they have been holding it for a while. Help them with it." Riaz looked at me but reluctantly agreed. "Fine. Let's go, everyone." I then turned back to Volley. "Wait for them, afterwards we will fight." "Sounds good," she said. "How much longer is this going to take?" I felt Cockabeel's aura disappear, but then another aura more powerful appeared, I thought. I then realized that the church trio was coming out with Riaz and her group behind them, but Issei was nowhere to be found. "Riaz, where's Issei?" I yelled out. Riaz then finished walking up and told me Issei is fighting the White Dragon Emperor. He told us to help stabilize this barrier so it won't shatter while they're fighting. "Hopefully he'll be okay," Tsubaki said quietly. "Do you think he can win?" I asked nervously. I don't know, Ria said. Aha, Irina started in a light laugh. Issei told me that he will be going all out for this fight. When he tries, nothing can stop him. Yeah, but isn't the White Dragon Emperor super strong? Saji said. He's much stronger than I am, and I was going head-to-head with Cockabeel. He'll be fine, though it may be a close fight, Irina said with a slight grin. Well, I guess we'll have to trust him. Help me with this barrier, please, I said. Issei, please be safe, I thought. Well, the barrier is strengthened, so you ready? Vali asked excitedly. Let's go, I replied. Almost instantly she appeared in front of me, getting ready to slam a fist in my face. I quickly dodged and countered with a knee to the gut, which sent her back a bit. I then took the initiative and started my attacks, which Vali was just barely dodging. What is she doing? Is she trying to throw the fight? I wondered. I was currently still fighting on the level that could match Cockabeel, so the fact she was losing this bad was weird. I quickly backed up and asked her, when are you going to stop playing around? I could ask you the same. She started anyway. I hope you're ready to try now, she said with a smirk behind her mask. I then quickly went after her again, only for her to dodge all my attacks with ease. Then she slammed her fist right into the side of my head, sending me to the side a little bit. She's fast, I thought. The reason why I was taking those attacks earlier was to see your attack patterns. Hopefully, you have more up your sleeve, she yelled out as she started charging at me. No choice then, I thought. I then went into the zone. The zone was something both Irina and I were thought for when we go all out. It makes time flow slower for us and gives full attention to the battle we are currently in, so much so to the point where you would be able to see the slightest bit of movement from the enemy. Irina had gone into the zone against her fight with Cockabeel, making her on par with him. The drawback to this, though, is the longer you use it, the bigger the strain on your body once you're done, so it's not meant to be used all the time. As I entered the zone, I felt like everything had gone slow. Vali, who had been speeding at me, slowed down a considerable amount. She threw a punch at my face, which I sidestepped, and kicked her right in the stomach while she was charging at me, kicking her all the way into the air, easily shattering the reinforced barrier. I went to go charge her again when she started laughing. Ha, I knew there was something special about you, let's continue. She then stuck out her hand and I heard. I instantly felt the power leaving my body. Drag, I said instantly. On it, he said internally back. The boost and divides kept cancelling out each other, which left Vali and I back to our fight. I summoned multiple water blades and sent them right at Vali, who dodged them easily and charged right back at me. I then changed my course mid-air and kicked her right back down to the ground. Both dragons said at the same time. I then followed her into the dust where she should have been, only to realize she wasn't there. She then appeared right next to me and gave me another punch to the side of the head, slightly cracking my armor. This time, however, I didn't get sent flying back and gripped her arm and let out a fire breath right on her. She used one divide to half the power of the fire breath, which allowed me to double my overall power for this fight by 1. She then did a backflip as she grabbed my arm and slammed me into the ground. She backed up a little bit and I got back up. I quickly came up with a plan that could work with her battle style and came up with an idea instantly. She then charged at me again and we kept throwing attacks at one another while flying all over the place. While we were in the air, I grabbed onto an opening and grabbed her by the helmet and slammed her back down to the ground. I then used the boosters on my back and started dragging her face through the ground all across the school. She then grabbed my wrist and threw me backward into a building, which I crashed into. I got back up right away and immediately noticed that she was planning on launching a spell at me. I quickly flew up in the air and dodged the incoming fireballs that she had sent at me, and I countered her by sending back tons of water blades. She then dodged by flying into the air after me, but I used another fire breath that she took head on. I quickly noticed her speed, however, wasn't slowing down and she was quickly coming right toward me. I was about to dodge when I realized that the trick she just used was the same that I used against Ubaluna, and looked up to see Vali about to slam me to the ground with her fist. I dodged out of the way and grabbed her arm mid-punch and threw her back to the ground. I followed her to the ground to land directly on her stomach. She then coughed up as she grabbed my ankle and threw me off. This isn't good. She has much more durability than me since she is a natural-born devil. I have to get her into the position quick, I thought. I realized she was a devil as soon as we met, and not just any regular devil, a super high-ranking one at that. I figured that she was from the old Lucifer line, as her name suggests. You really are a great rival, Vali yelled. I knew you were something special since the moment we met. I don't know what I'm feeling. Fear. No, maybe excitement. I wondered. I quickly dismissed the thoughts and was back in the battle. I didn't say anything and charged her again. The longer I stayed in the zone, the worse, so I needed to wrap this up quickly. She then dodged and we were back to fighting while flying in the air. To onlookers, this probably looked like a white and red blur chasing each other, and since the barrier broke, that's probably what the regular humans were seeing. After around 10 minutes, she charged at me fist first while screaming AHHH. I immediately charged at her back without saying and met her fist with mine. This is so much fun, she yelled as she started to push my fist back. I then felt a small grin appear on my face for what felt like the first time in forever. Checkmate, I said. I then took a scalpel out of my arm and it pierced all the way into her arm, starting from her knuckles. ARHHH, she yelled in pain. I then grabbed her and threw her to the ground as I followed right away with my sword first. As I was going at her, though, I felt another energy start to come right toward me, so I dodged and looked down to see who sent the mysterious energy at me. There were two people there, one being a girl with cat ears and black hair with a bust on par with Akino's, and a male with brown hair and a staff behind him. Naya, that was just mean. You know, not only did you use a holy sword against Volley, but it was a dragon slayer sword no less, the cat girl yelled. Shit, these guys are just a little weaker than Volley. I definitely don't have the strength to take them on right now, I thought. Yeah, I mean, that's just a low blow, the boy yelled. Shut up, Volley yelled. I lost fair and square, but know this, red draw no, Issei Hayao, to our next battle I will not lose, Volley yelled. It sounded like she was about to cry, but I couldn't tell since her face was covered. Volley just let us take care of his, the boy said. No, I lost. Just get me some healing, Kuroka, this hurts like hell, Volley yelled. Naya, fine, the cat girl said as she summoned a magic circle, but before they left she looked at me and said, I look forward to meeting you again, Issei Hayao. With that, they all disappeared and I flew back to the ground and deactivated my balance breaker. Irina and Sona both came running up to me. Issei, they both yelled. Sorry, but I was about to say when I suddenly collapsed due to the fatigue buildup after being in the zone for nearly 20 minutes, and because of that I was now unconscious. Issei had been battling for nearly 20 minutes, and as the time went on I saw Irina's expression change from confident to extremely worried. After the barrier broke, humans kept on coming up the battle and had to get their memories wiped by everyone there by using magic. After all, to humans, this looked like something you would see in a movie, a red blur and a white blur fighting each other. After we realized that the fight was over with the appearance of newer presences, Irina and I both ran over to see what happened, only to see a defeated Volley with two other people that teleported away as soon as we arrived. Issei then started to talk but then passed out and fell right on top of me. I managed to say as I got out the biggest blush I've ever had on. I turned to Irina, who surprisingly didn't look mad at me and only looked relieved to see that Issei was okay. I then picked up Issei and carried him back to the group now that all of the humans were gone. I'm going to take him to a hospital in the underworld, take care of things here. Is Issei going to be alright? Akino asked. I didn't say anything even though everyone clearly wanted answers. Even Irina, who normally would be excited to see him, seemed super worried about him. Rias gave a nod, and with that, I took Issei to the most advanced hospital in the underworld and got him a room immediately. After a while of worrying, I got a text from my sister that she will be over right away. I got worried about that and could only hope that she wouldn't cause a big scene. As soon as she arrived though, she looked deathly worried about Issei, which surprised me since it seemed like she didn't really like him before. Sona, what happened to him? Serafal asked desperately. I then told her about the fight that happened and why he was knocked out and covered in bruises. Sona, too. I'm really sorry, Serafal said as she burst out in tears. Irina was sleeping on her chair since her going into the zone still exhausted her as well. I guess since from what she said her being in the zone for the 5 minutes she was in was already a lot of stress on the body, Issei, who used it for 20 minutes, was going to be in a lot of pain for a while. Why are you apologizing, sis? I asked curiously. Because I should have been there to help, me or one of the Demon Kings, she said sadly. I didn't say anything because she was right. Someone around the status of Demon King should have been there. If it wasn't for Irina and Issei, we would have all been dead. You are able to see Mr. Hayao now, a nurse said. Irina woke up and followed us into the room where we saw Issei bandaged up. He doesn't have any broken bones or fractures. He has tons of bruises and scratches on him and his muscles are completely exhausted right now. He will most likely be asleep for a while, the nurse said sadly. Serafal started crying again while I just looked at Issei and hoped he was alright. Irina though had another train of thought and climbed into the hospital bed with him. Irina, what are you doing? You have to let him rest, I said. I need some healing too. And since we were here I might as well use this bed, she said as she snuggled up closer to Issei. Serafal then grabbed her and put her on the other empty bed in the room. Don't bother Issei while he's sleeping, Serafal said angrily. Then the two of them got into an argument about the whole ordeal. The nurse had left the room by now and I grabbed Issei's hand. Issei, please get well soon, I thought as I felt tears leave my eyes. I opened my eyes to be swarmed by people. Around me were Sona, Serafal, Chut's trio, and Kaneko, who all had tears coming out of their eyes. Issei, you're alright, Serafal yelled as she jumped on me. Oh, I thought. They all took their turns saying how happy they were to see me and whatnot, but I just wanted to go back to sleep. After a while, most of them left except for Sona, Irina, and Kaneko. Issei, one more thing before I leave. Sona started our house was upgraded big time when you were asleep and we bought your parents another house to live in since we told them that we needed more space. They agreed to it though and now you will be living in a mansion with us. I sighed and said thanks. With that, Sona was about to take her leave when she stopped at the doorway, turned around and jumped on the bed while kissing me on the lips. She got up and without looking at me said, "Teeth, that was my first kiss, so don't let it go to waste," she said as she left the room. Irina looked like she was about to kill her but thankfully Kaneko was able to hold her down. HMPH, fine then, Irina said as she walked up to me and kissed me on my lips. We'll call it even then since that was my first kiss too, she said as she left the room. I was stunned by what had just happened and turned to an also stunned Kaneko. You aren't going to kiss me too, right? I said in a monotone voice. A slight blush appeared as she shook her head. There is something I want to talk to you about though, she said. Is it about Kuroka? I asked. She seemed shocked that I knew but composed herself quickly. Did she say anything to you? Yay, she said that she looks forward to meeting me again, I said bluntly. This visibly angered Kaneko as she muttered, "Why does she always want to take from me?" I looked at her but didn't say anything. With that she said thank you and left, leaving me by myself. "Drag?" I asked. "Yay, partner," he responded. "The fight that we did. How do you think I did compare to other Red Dragon Emperors? In terms of pure strength you rank one of the highest so far when you go all out. However, in terms of IQ and battle IQ you are the best I've ever had," Drag said proudly. I didn't respond to that, but it was at least good to know. Thanks to Irina and me fighting Kakabeel and fighting the White Dragon Emperor, that definitely gave Sona more recognition in the underworld. Whether people want to or not, they have to realize sooner or later that Sona's peerage is stronger than Ria's, and when people realize that, I can return the favor to Sona for her saving my life, I thought as I went back to bed. Today was finally the day I was allowed to be discharged from the hospital. I was told just to take it easy the next few days and to eat well and all that. I left with Sona and went back to my house, or I would say my house, but this looked nothing like it anymore. All of the houses near mine were going, and my house seemed to have around 5 stories now. "Sona, do I really need a house this big?" I asked. "Of course, after all, lots of people are going to be moving in with you in the future," Sona responded. Zenobia, Ikanos, and Irina had to go back to the church in England after the peace meeting, so I guess they wanted to enjoy the new house. I opened the door and went inside, and Sona gave me a tour. To say that this place was huge was no joke. It had 5 stories going up and 3 basements, one being for storage, one being a pool, and the last being a workout room. I quickly headed up into my room to rest a little bit. After all, I was still not in my best condition after my fight with Volley. As I went upstairs, though, someone else came running down yelling something. "Issei, guess what?" Irina yelled. "What?" I asked in a monotone voice. "I got us all tickets to go to the pool," she responded. "Don't we have a pool here?" I asked again. "Don't be like that, going to a public pool is what makes it fun," Irina cried out. Personally, I would like a personal one more, but I guess she did already buy the tickets, I thought. "All right, so when are we going?" "Right now, of course," she responded. "Fine, I just hope you didn't forget about that favor that you owe me," I reminded her. Her face turned serious for a moment. "Of course not, and from what you told me the red-haired princess also owes you one." I nodded and went upstairs into my room as Irina got everyone in the house together to go to the pool. As I got finished changing into swim gear, I was about to open the door when I felt a super strong presence appear from behind me. This aura made Volley's aura look like child play. I immediately turned around and got into a battle stance, only to see a young girl with black hair and emotionless eyes like mine. "Can I ask what you are doing in my house?" I asked. She didn't respond at first and was only taking a look at me before she said, "Of course, I would want to know who took out one of my strongest subordinates." So the leader of the Chaos Brigade, I thought. "Issei, I believe your name was. Join me, I will give you power, and in return, you can help me kill Great Red." "Who's Great Red?" I asked. "Drake, have you really not told him these things yet?" she asked while looking at my hand. "Sorry, Off-Eyes, I haven't had the chance to, so please forgive this lowly dragon," Drake cried out. "Oi, I thought you were supposed to be super prideful," I thought. "Who?" "Well, to explain then, I am Off-Eyes the Ouroboros dragon, and Great Red is the dragon of dreams," she said in a monotone voice. "I do not wish to join you currently," I responded. "Currently, so maybe in the future?" she asked again. "Who knows?" I said as I shrugged my shoulders. "You really are an interesting person." "Issei Hayadu," Off-Eyes thought. "Well, think about it. I don't want to ruin your dates today anyway," she said with a smirk as she teleported away. Holy shit, that aura was something else, I thought. Well, she is one of the 2 dragoon gods, Drake added in. I then went downstairs to find Zenobia, Ikanos, Irina, and Sona all waiting for me at the front entrance. "What took you so long?" Irina pouted. "I guess then Off-Eyes put up a barrier," I thought. "Sorry. Anyway, let's get going," I said. We then all left for the pool, and when we arrived it was huge. It wasn't just any public pool but more like a water park. It had water slides, wave pools, and everything. We then found a place to set our stuff down, and Irina called out to me, "Hey Issei, wanna see my swimsuit?" she asked with a grin as she took off the oversized sweatshirt she had on. She was wearing a white bikini that fitted her pretty well. No reaction. "You mean," she said as she pouted again. Everyone else then took of theirs. Sona was wearing a black one-piece swimsuit while looking extremely embarrassed. Zenobia had a blue bikini on, and Ikanos was wearing a white bikini with a little bit of gold. "Now off to the water slides," Irina said as she grabbed my hand and dragged me around. The other girls followed in pursuit to where we were going, which was the tallest water slide there. As we were going up, though, I saw someone unexpected, Horikita. She just looked at me with a disgusting glare as she saw that I had 4 beautiful girls with me. "Why is it that everywhere I go I always see you?" she asked harshly. "I could ask you the same thing," I said back. She then turned her back to me and said, "Well, this ride takes a maximum of 8 people, so I guess we will be riding together." "I guess so," I responded. We then waited in line until it was our turn. We all sat in a tube and went down the slide at a super fast pace. I had no expression on my face while everyone looked like they were having a blast, except Horikita, who had the same look as me. I then glanced over at Irina, who all of a sudden got an evil smirk on her face. "Don't do it, Irina," I thought, but it was already too late as she already started losing her top. As we reached the end of the slide, all of us fell out of the tube and into the water, and then Irina made her move. "Issei, can you come over here?" she said in a loud whisper. "I think I lost my top." Can you help me find it? Luckily I had been paying attention to where she had thrown it off and grabbed it for her as she secretly put it back on with a sour expression on her face. I then got out of the water and went to Horikita. So why are you here? You don't seem like the type of person to be here, much less go on water slides, I said. They came in the mail so I figured that I might as well go, and for the slide I was bored so I went on it, she responded. We then chatted for a while before I headed back to my group. Before I left though she said one more thing, Issei. I don't know what you're hiding, but mark my words I will find out, she said with a glare. Interesting, I thought. But I have nothing to hide, I said back. She didn't say anything else so I walked back to my group. For the rest of the day, we just hanged out and went on some more rides until it was finally time for the park to close. I had a lot of fun today, Irina said. Yay, me too, Ikano said. Something that had been bothering me though was that Sona wasn't really talkative today, so I asked her about it. Sona, what's up? I asked. It's nothing, she said, but she gave the hints that she wanted me to ask further. I let out a sigh and asked, don't be like that. We are friends, we can talk about this stuff. Then be honest. Do you like my swimsuit? She asked. So that's what this was, I thought. Of course, I said bluntly. My bluntness made her face go to a deep red T. Thank you, she said quietly. We then caught up with the rest of the group as Sona seemed a lot happier now. Grafia, I can't believe that Issei has taken down the White Dragon Emperor, Surzech said in a chair talking to his maid. I can. He is much stronger than most people would think, Grafia responded. It's a shame though, he may think he is indeed the smartest but my experience is greater, Surzech said. What do you mean? Asked Grafia. What he is trying to do is to try and take away Ria's control of Kyo and give it to Sona. Of course, I can't flat out say no to that, but his win over the White Dragon Emperor makes this more complicated, Surzech said. How so? Grafia asked again. I will never hand over my little sister's territory to someone else, but if Sona's peerage continues to prove that they are better than Ria's peerage, then I may not have a choice, Surzech said angrily, but I myself have a major influence, more than any other demon king, so I'm sure that I can use that. But having Issei like to be someone who doesn't like to stand out, it will make things much easier for me. I see, Grafia said. Anyway, you need to focus on your work. The meeting with the faction leaders is in 3 more days. With that, Surzech started going back to work. Surzech, although you may be my master, I will never, ever fully give myself to you. After all, you killed most of my family and turned me into your maid. So when Issei completely destroys you and your sister, I'll be watching with a smile, Grafia thought. Vali, how are you doing? Hiroka asked. Better now, but I just have to be careful. Biku, can you get me some water, please? Sure thing, princess, Biku said mockingly. Issei Hayao, how can he be so strong? If I had to guess, when he was still human, he was probably the strongest human that didn't know about the supernatural. Even so, for me to be defeated like this, I will have my revenge, Vali thought as another person entered the room. Oh, Off-Ice, they all called out. I had a talk with the Red Dragon Emperor, Issei Hayao, Off-Ice started. What did you guys talk about? The Aiku asked. I asked him if he would join us, Off-Ice said with a smirk. Don't give me that, Vali yelled out. Off-Ice, however, quickly shut him down by flexing her aura. He rejected the offer for now, but something tells me that he may be switching to this side soon, Off-Ice said with the smirk still on her face. Off-Ice, surely you understand though that we are destined to fight, Vali said. Of course, I know, and frankly I don't care. If he can help me kill Great Red, that's what matters. But why would he switch sides? Biku asked. Well, of course he's planning something. I've actually been secretly watching him for a while, and to say that he is a genius is no joke. If I'm not careful, he might be able to outdo me. What is he going to do though? Kuroka asked. Declare war on the Gremmaries. Of course not officially, but he will challenge them, and of course, they will accept only for them to lose. Off-Ice said. So Off-Ice, Vali started, do you think that he will help us in the future? Although it's not 100%, I can see him joining our side depending on which approach he takes. Anyway, it's about time that I get going now. I hope to see progress on your mission soon, Off-Ice said as she left. Someone that could outsmart our master. I would like to have babies with that boy, Kuroka said while licking her lips. Sorry, but you won't be able to, Vali said. Oh, have you fallen for him, Vali? Of course not. Next time I see him he'll be dead, that's why, Vali said intensely. Did you not hear what Off-Ice just said? Biku said. Of course, she wants to add him, but I live for fighting people. If I die after defeating the Red Dragon Emperor, then so be it. Divided by. It was the night before the big meeting. I was asleep in my room with Sona, Irina, and Serafal all sleeping with me. Serafal came back since the meeting was soon, and since I have a bigger bed she let Irina sleep in here. Oi, Irina, wake up, I said quietly. Issei, what is it? I have something to talk to you about. We then both got up and went downstairs. What do you need to talk to me about this late at night? Could it be? Irina asked with a smirk. No, during this meeting you picked the church over me, understand? How do you mean? When we all sit at the table, all important figures will be there. Of course, Michio will be there, so you will stand behind him with the 2 other girls and not behind me. I can do that, but why? She asked back confused. Just do it, I responded back. HMPH, fine. With that, we both went back to bed and waited for the next day to come. The meeting was at midnight tonight and it was already 10 p.m. We spent the whole day just relaxing with Serafal pestering Sona about things. Well, it's about time we get going, Ikano said with a smile. We then left for school. We were early, but it's better to be early than late. When we arrived, everyone was already there with the exception of Azazel. There was a total of 6 seats with them all having names assigned to them. I looked for my name, but it seems that it was not there. I shot Surzech a glare, who was already sitting down having some tea, and glared back. "Whoa, I didn't know I was supposed to get here early," a man said while walking into the room. "Azazel, I'm assuming," I thought. "Well, now that everyone is here, let's begin," Mitchell said. As Azazel grabbed his seat, he asked, "Is the Red Dragon Emperor not going to sit with us?" Well, I figured that since he was a servant of the Citri family, he would be behind them. Out of Sona peerage, only Tsubaki and Saji were here, however they hadn't said anything. I then walked up to Sona and pulled her up out of her chair and sat down on hers, and then pulled her back down on the chair so she was sitting on my lap. A big blush went across her face. "Don't worry, Surzech, I'm guessing that you just forgot a chair, since there's no way you could forget someone who just took down the White Dragon Emperor, correct?" Surzech only glared back at me in return. Behind me and Sona were Saji and Tsubaki. Behind Mitchell were the church trio. Behind Riaz was her whole peerage, and behind Serafal, Surzech, and Azazel were nobody. Well, let's talk about the Cockabeel incident. The Excaliburs the church were after were destroyed correctly, Surzech said. "Yes, there are only 3 left now, and those are Mimic, Destruction, and the last one which was lost," Mitchell responded. "Also concerning Cockabeel, I'll pay for any damages he caused. It was my responsibility in a way for not keeping an eye on him," Azazel added. "During the fight with Cockabeel, the one who fought him nearly to defeat was Irina, correct?" Mitchell asked while turning his head to look at her. "Yes, it was Sir Mitchell," Irina said formally. "I'm glad we have someone so reliable working in the church," Mitchell added with a smile. After that, the room was silent for a while until Azazel spoke up. "Let's just make peace. That's why we are here, correct?" This shocked everyone in the room except Irina and I as we just continued watching. "Well, yes, that is the reason we are here," Surzech started. "We want to ensure that another war doesn't break out between the factions. Everyone would lose in that situation, and there could be a chance that one of us goes extinct." After an hour of them going over the details and whatnot, Azazel spoke again to change the topic. "So, Issei Hayadu, you were the one who took down Vali." "Yes, did you happen to know her?" "She was like my disciple of sorts. She would hang around and I would spar with her from time to time. At a certain point, she beat me every single time. To think that you beat her is just outstanding." "Thank you, but let's not forget that Sona's peerage held the barrier up and took care of most people when the barrier broke. Also that Riaz's peerage was also able to take care of 3 of Cockabeel's underlings." At first glance, this may have been a compliment, but I just said that Sona's peerage is stronger than Riaz. By saying that I took out the White Dragon Emperor, and by saying that it took Riaz's whole peerage to take out 3 of his underlings, makes her look weak and makes us look strong. While it was Cerberus, Surzech added. "While that may be true, they would have lost if not for Akino's holy lightning," I countered. "While that may be true, Akino is part of Riaz's peerage, so she counts towards Riaz's strength." "Who helped her accept her powers, though?" "It wasn't Riaz, it was me." Riaz was visibly angry after I said that, and Surzech couldn't come up with anything else to say. "I also helped Akino," Riaz yelled. "Did you? Or did you only tell her that it was okay and to keep waiting until she's ready?" I said emotionlessly. "If I may, while I do thank Riaz for everything that she has done for me, Issei was the one who helped me accept myself," Akino added. "Akino, you," Riaz started before she cut herself off. I looked over at Akino, who met my gaze for a moment and then turned away with a blush on her face. "One more thing, and probably the biggest shock to you all. Since everybody here is from a higher class, I can tell you this, but nobody is to say anything, understand?" Azazel said. We all looked at him with curiosity except Irina and I, who already knew what he was going to say. "Biblical goddess, dead. He died during the last war." This made everyone who didn't know have a shocked face, while Irina and I had no change in face. Zenobia and Ikinu seemed pretty out of it learning of God's death, but I figured they would ask questions later. Then all of a sudden a barrier was put up around the whole school and lots of people stopped moving. "What happened?" Sona asked. "Gasper," Surzech said as he said that Riaz left to go toward to where Gasper was. Everybody was frozen except for Surzech, Serafal, Mitchell, Azazel, Irina, myself, and Sona. "Care to explain?" Azazel asked. "Riaz has a bishop that has been sealed away for being unable to control his power. Somebody must have broken the seal and captured Gasper," Surzech said. "Why did she have something so powerful if she can't control it?" Serafal asked. "He was on the verge of death, and to save him she turned him into a devil." "Are you sure you're giving him a better life, though?" "You said he was sealed, meaning that he must have been sealed away from the outside world instead of working with him in order to control his power," Sona said. Then hundreds of people with black robes came into the barrier, and there was one strong aura in particular. "Sona and I will go after Riaz," I said in a monotone voice. Although Surzech wanted to reject it, he knew he couldn't. We then ran over to where Riaz went while everyone else went to go fight the magicians. We finally entered the old school building where Gasper was. We then followed where the magic was strongest and saw a vampire boy being pinned against the wall by magic with people in black robes around the boy. "Let my servant go," Riaz yelled. "Our Riaz." The weak vampire managed to get out. The black mages then attacked us by using basic magic skills. "Water blade," Sona called out, and just like that all of the mages were decapitated. She was able to change the direction of the water blade while it was still going, which was how she was able to kill all of them. We then freed Gasper as he started crying and apologizing for being captured. I then walked up to the boy and bit my thumb so it bled. "Drink," I said. "Ahhh," he yelled back. I stared at him with a cold expression that said drink, now. He reluctantly had a little bit of mine and he was able to control his powers again, making time go back to normal. "Issei, what did you do?" Rias asked. "Does it matter? I just freed everyone from being stuck in time," I said. Sona and I then left, leaving Rias and Gasper behind. The reason I was able to have Gasper control his power by drinking my was that I have dragon inside of me, and because of that, he was able to control his power. Sona could probably figure that out, but I don't know about Rias. I then went outside to join everyone fighting in the battle and activated my balance breaker. Everyone was fighting to their full potential, but Zenovia and Ikanos couldn't focus after they were just told. I noticed Azazel was in the air with the strongest person here, so I flew up to meet him. "Ah, Red Dragon Emperor, glad you could join me," Azazel said with a grin. "Phew, don't take me lightly. Offeyes gave me this mighty power to crush you all," she cried out as she turned her arm into a tentacle and blitzed right towards Azazel at a super fast speed. Right before it could reach him, I sliced off her arm, but it grew back right away. "Thanks for the save. I didn't expect it to come that fast." "It's fine." We then turned our attention toward her again. "Damn it, I will never allow you, fake demon kings, to rule the underworld," she yelled out as she sent both her arms toward us. So she's a former demon king's daughter, I thought. All of the demon kings had died in the war, so I guess their children would be upset if they didn't get to inherit the throne. Azazel and I both dodged her attack, and Azazel brought out a yellow item and said balance breaker. Soon a yellow plate of armor similar to mine appeared on his body. "Dragon King Fafnir," Drake said internally. We then both charged at the women, who promptly backed up and sent more tentacles toward us, which we dodged with ease as I and Azazel got on either side of her and started beating her up. I punched her in the face and she would get sent towards Azazel and he would punch her back, sending her back to me. All the while I was able to get a total of 3 boosts off before she finally was able to break out of the combo. I will never let you beat me," she yelled before her magic increased tenfold. "She's going to self-destruct," Azazel yelled. I quickly charged right behind her and snapped her neck with no difficulty, making her self-destruct stop and killing her. "Wow, you're a good red dragon. Just call me Issei. Well, there's this in the fact that you are going to be able to take over this territory," he said with a smirk. I figured that he would figure out. In fact, if I had to guess, Surzech and Michiel both knew as well, but as long as Rias doesn't know, then everything will be fine. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said as I started going back to the ground. "Then forget I said anything," he said with the same smirk on his face. All of the mages were nearly taken out thanks to Arena going on a rampage, slaughtering everyone. In the midst of the chaos, everyone went up to Rias and Gasper to ask about the detail, but I pulled Michiel over to the side. "Michiel, if you don't mind, could you make Arena one of your servants?" "I don't see why not. She's strong, smart, but she is a little sadistic. As long as she doesn't go too out of hand, it should be fine though," he said with a sweat drop rolling down. "Hey," Arena yelled as she ran over to us. "I know I did not just hear what I just did. If that happens, I won't ever be able to have with Issei. You owe me a favor." "Do it," I said. "But it should be fine." Michiel started with a smile. "I can change the system to make it so you can still love him if you wish." "Damn it," I thought as I looked back at Arena, who was jumping in joy. "Then I accept." Then Zenovia and Ikanos came over with a sad look in their eyes. "Michiel, is good truly dead?" Zenovia asked. "Yes, sadly he is. Currently, I have replaced him for the meantime, but I am nowhere near as good as he was." With that, Zenovia and Ikanos seemed to have broken a little bit. "To see," Ikanos said. With that, they both walked away to be on their own for a bit. I then walked away as well before Azazel yelled out loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Hey Issei, how did Gasper's power go back to normal?" "He's helping me. It's probably a trap, but I should take this opportunity," I thought. I helped him control his power by giving him in other words, "If you don't want him to go out of control, you need me around," I said. Surzech gave Azazel a cold glare and Azazel laughed it off. Then Sona and Serafal came up to me. "Issei, there's something we must speak about," Serafal said. "What?" I asked. Serafal normally wasn't this serious, so it was strange. "Deodora has been making moves lately. There is a tournament for new coming devils, and he publicly challenged us first," Sona added. "He's still holding on to that grudge, huh?" I thought. "Whatever, we'll just beat him then," I said. "It's not that simple though. Because of his hostility towards Sona, we sent spies after him to keep an eye on them. All of the spies were killed immediately. Keep in mind the spies are supposed to be on par with all of the upcoming devils such as Sona and Rias. So he had a sudden burst in power, making him way stronger than he was before. It was probably Offeyes at work again. There wasn't any other way you could suddenly get that strong unless it was power from Offeyes. The girl we just fought also got some power from Offeyes." "I see," I said back. It was pretty convenient that a raiding game tournament was coming up. It meant that I could challenge Rias with way less difficulty. "Do you know how he got so strong so fast?" Serafal asked. "No idea," I lied. "Don't give me that you figured out that God died by yourself. There's no way you don't know." I just said I don't know. Why would I keep such important info away if I knew it? They both looked at me but finally left me alone. Afterward, we were finally all able to go back home. "So, Issei, I want to know, why do you want to make me an angel?" Karina asked. Everyone else was currently sleeping and we were in the living room watching anime. I have no influence there, I said. Most things I found boring, but I found anime to be quite a fun hobby. The one I was watching now was about a brother and sister who got sent into another world where games decide everything. It was interesting. What about the fallen angels? You don't have any influence there. With the fallen, I can make an influence. I was keeping my answers short since I didn't want to be interrupted right now. Irina finally got the hint and snuggled up to me on the couch. The next morning I woke up on the couch with Irina sleeping on my shoulder. Then all of a sudden Serafal and Sona came downstairs. Issei, we have to go to the underworld. This woke up Irina and I responded with for the tournament. Exactly. I guess Zenovia and Ikanos already left. I asked. Yes, they have. They left a note saying thank you for everything. Speaking of which, don't you have to be back soon? Sona asked. I guess I do, but I don't want to leave Issei alone. I'll be okay. Just go back, I said in a monotone voice. Fine, she said. A few minutes later she was all packed up. Well, thank you for letting me stay. I hope to see you all soon, especially you, Issei. Then she left out the door. So when are we leaving for the underworld? I asked. ASAP, the sooner we get there the better, Sona replied. With that, I packed up and came back downstairs. You ready? Serafal asked. I nodded my head, and with that, she opened a magic circle and sent us into the underworld. Okay, sadly the chapter is over. And if you enjoyed, just leave a like and subscribe with post notification, so when the next chapter is ready, you will be notified. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.